This is Chicago Hockey. This is Chicago Hockey Radio with your hosts, Justin Lynch, Charlie Weber, Natalie Chivy, and Andrew Nolan.
Welcome back, everyone. Monday show of Chicago Hockey Radio. We are back for week 2 of the CHR season. Oh boy, guys, get fired up today. What a guest we have here today. Jay Zawaski from CHGO. Thank you so much for joining us today. How you doing, Jay? Oh, does he get us?
I thought he should have us, huh?
But yeah, no, I mean, if you're listening to us on the audio and Spotify and Apple, make sure to, if you're enjoying this video, make sure to leave us a 5-star rating and review. And like this video on YouTube if you haven't already. Be sure to subscribe for sure as we get underway here. Yeah. Yeah, a lot to get into today. We got the prospect showcase to recap from this past weekend.
Yeah, 2 exciting
The Hawks
games.
playing the Blues and the Wild. They took one W and lost the other, unfortunately. But it was a good weekend. Good to see Blackhawks players back on the ice. What'd you guys think? You guys able to watch the games? Yeah.
I was stuck at work for most of yesterday's game. I was able to catch Saturday's game. I thought the boys played well. I like seeing Sam Renzel out there wearing the C.
Yeah.
That was good to see. And no, I think Oliver Moore's game winner, you saw a lot of what the skill we're looking for him at the next level. You know, the speed, the finishing ability from him. Forget who the breakout pass was. It Lardis?
It was
The
Lardis,
breakout
and he
pass?
drew up the
Yeah,
play. I remember he
yeah.
talked about Ben Pope afterward, how
Talked
he
about
sort
on
of
the
drew up the
bench.
play that he used in Brantford many times,
Yeah.
which I know Moore joked about from a 70-goal scorer. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you're gonna take his word for it. Yeah.
Yeah, Moore did great. That OT winner was phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, it gave us a lot of hope. A lot of hope for this prospect class. And I mean, we obviously knew that our prospect class was good, but like that kind of really solidified it. A couple bloopers against the Wild on Sunday. But I mean, hey, you know, you win some, you lose some. And I think this is going to be a really good year for the prospects. And I feel like we're going to bring a lot of people up this year.
What a goal from Moore. Did you guys see that? That was nasty. The speed he showed there and the move and the finish. He had a lot of opportunities last year to kind of get that first career goal, but it didn't really come with him. He wasn't really able to finish. But for him to get that opportunity there and be able to bury that was a beautiful goal. And I don't know, guys. That doesn't look like a player who's going to need Rockford time. He looks like he's ready to go in Chicago. And if he does need time with Ice Hogs, I don't think it's going to be very long. Similar to Nazar last year, I think he's ready to go.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not going to be too extended of a look at Rockford for him.
Yeah, no.
And hopefully he'll come up quick and get that first goal out of the way quick as well.
I love that guy, too. Like, just in interviews, he just seems like an absolute beauty, doesn't he?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of Hawks players just talk this guy like in the greatest light. You know, he's such a good team guy. He gets everyone, you know, loose and relaxed, and he's just kind of like a fun presence that brings everyone together.
He's like a golden retriever.
I was just about to
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
I think
yeah.
he's a golden retriever. I mean, when we saw him get drafted too, I mean, he was just so happy to be there and so happy to be in the presence of everything. And, you know, he was happy to be a part of this original 6 organization. And honestly, I mean, I know once you get drafted, whatever team you go to, you're going to be happy. And it's, especially since this is such a storied organization, I mean, Oliver Moore is just such a great presence, very calming presence. He knows what he's doing, and kind of like how you guys said, I don't think he's going to need any time in Rockford, at least at all. So, yeah, I mean, he's got it. He's got it. Him and Lardis got it. I can't imagine he needs Rockford time at all.
Yeah.
I'll never forget how fired up he was when he was first drafted by Chicago. Like, hell yeah, I'm going to play at Bedsy, baby.
It was
Yeah.
so awesome.
I
We
It
were
was
very
so
lucky he dropped to
awesome.
us. Very
no one
lucky.
was more thrilled that he dropped than Kyle.
Yes,
That video of him at the
his
table
reaction
will
is classic. He's
always-
like, effing right, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Always be a great one.
I still thought, though, like I think he was the second best, probably the best forward of the prospect tourney. What about Sam Renzel, though? What about Sam Renzel? He was absolutely fantastic. Looked phenomenal all tournament. That's a guy I could confidently 100% say will not need any time in Rockford. He was so
No.
good they didn't even play him Sunday. Moore and Artie Party were scratched as well on Sunday. And oftentimes that's what happens when the players you feel are pretty good are going to compete for a spot are going to join. And I believe we're ready to go here. I think we got our tech difficulties sorted. I believe we got Jay Zawaski from CHGO on as a guest today. If you're a Blackhawks fan, this man needs no introduction. You know who he is. One of the best in the Blackhawks sphere covering this team. We're really happy to have him on. How's your day going, Jay?
So far, so good. Thanks for having me on, fellas. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, we're really happy to have you. I think that's the first question to ask, honestly, is what's the CHGO experience like over there? And do you have a favorite moment from your time with the organization? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've said this many times, but it's hard to call my job at CHGO my dream job because I never dreamed it existed. I basically got to turn my passion for the Blackhawks and my small business that used to be known as the Madhouse Podcast into my career, which I didn't think was a possibility. You know, and when CHGO reached out to me with the opportunity, it sort of felt unbelievable and too good to be true. And I'm really glad I took the job because the job I had before this at WBBM has since been eliminated across the board. And to me, that was like, oh, that's the safe job. I got to keep that. I can't take this jump, but I took the jump, and I'm so glad I did. And I mean, there's been a lot of great moments, but we had Duncan Keith in here a couple weeks ago. But that day we had Marian Hossa here, I think was kind of a different level because it was sort of early on in our as a company for us. So to have a guest that big come sit with us for an hour and really seem to enjoy his time was huge. And I think it sort of set things in motion for us from there.
Yeah, that was really nice. I enjoyed seeing, because you guys always have Alex Vlasic on your show last season. Those always my favorite shows when he kind of give his little weekly, semi-weekly check-ins and how the Blackhawk season was going. I saw you guys at Frank Nazar on recently as well. That was pretty good. He seemed pretty baffled by some of the Sharks bobblehead shenanigans going on over there. I could tell he wanted to say more about it, but he just kind of bit his tongue, was like, what's going on over there? But his answer is classic. I don't think the Hawks would want to do something like that or something that he said. It was hilarious. Yeah.
I don't know what I like what the Sharks are doing bobblehead wise. I don't know what they're doing with the roster this year, bringing in Ryan Reeves and a bunch of old dudes. But they're having fun with it. We've all heard about how great the vibes are in San Jose, and whether that translates to Stanley Cups remains to be seen. But have fun with it. It's just it's just sports. I know we get super passionate and super stressed out about it, and I know less than 24 hours after another humiliating Bears loss, everyone's kind of annoyed and frustrated, but the sun came up. It's cool. So if they want to make a bobblehead of a sleepover, by all means do it. It's funny. It's great stuff.
They've definitely embraced that for sure over there. Yeah, fair enough, I guess. Yeah. We don't need to talk about the Bears game. I don't think anyone wants to talk about the Bears game. It's a Hawks show, thankfully, not a Bears show. But that was
we don't have to.
That was a disastrous weekend.
We don't have to talk about that.
Clearly, the biggest games on the Chicago sports docket were the Blackhawks prospect showcase games.
Of course.
I think everyone agrees that. I think that's probably the logical place to start. I assume you watch them just like us. What Blackhawks prospects would you say jumped out at you the most in that tournament?
Well, I think it's the ones you want to, right? It was obviously Sam Renzel just looked like a man among boys, not only size-wise, but just the way the game seems to be, slow motion like Neo in the Matrix for Sam Renzel when he's playing players of that caliber. And look, I think there were moments in the NHL last year where things looked like that for him. So check that box. I think Oliver Moore looked really, really good, was dynamic, was making things happen all over the ice. He looked confident with the puck. He talked last week at Prospects Camp how he really is working on his finishing game and just trying to, turn those great chances into goals. And I think, that's kind of going to be, if he can do that, I think the Hawks can check a really important box of depth scoring on this team for a long time. But even if he doesn't turn into, a 20, 30 goal scorer at this level, just from what we've seen in the short sample size from Moore, he's a guy that is a solid and willing defender. Speed is going to create offense for everybody. Even if he gets a great chance and shoots and it doesn't go in, maybe it creates a rebound for somebody else, right? So I really like what I saw from him. Lev Shinov, I love the guy. I struggle to find like a real comparison for him in terms of defenseman. He kind of can do everything, but at the same time, he's always an adventurer. And I think he's kind of always going to be that way. So there'll be those moments where you're like, oh my God, what is he doing? And then there'll be those moments where you're like, oh my God, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I hope that the idea would be over the first few years of his career that the gap narrows and you get more of those, oh my God, yes moments versus those, oh my God, no moments. But aside from him, Ryan Green looked really good. Lardis, I think, was a bit of a. I think he's trying to do a lot. I think he's trying to impress, and it's showing. I think once Jeff Blashill gets him, he's going to tell him to simplify things a little bit and just calm down. But I think just summarizing, the guys you wanted to see dominate for the most part dominated and looked like and I think you could say this for all three teams, right? All of the top prospects on the three teams looked like the top prospects.
No, I couldn't agree more. I guess the next question is the status of those players you mentioned. The three big ones, Rinzel, Artie, and Moore, were scratched on Sunday. And that kind of got the wheels turning in my head where it's like you have to think all three of those guys are going to have a really good opportunity to fight for a roster spot and be on this Hawks team. I think Rinzel, there's zero question about it. Artie, pretty good chance. Moore might be the biggest wild card of the three. But what would you say the status is on those three players and guys like Lardis and Green as well in terms of where they're at and if making this Blackhawks team?
Yeah, I agree with you on the three. I think Renzel's a shoe, and I think they're counting on him to be a guy that plays 82 games, assuming health, right? Levshinov, if I will put percentages on it, maybe just for conversation's sake, I would say probably 75% chance he starts in Chicago. If he has a preseason as expected, I think they'll start him here. Moore, I think, has a pretty solid shot. I would call it 50-50. Lucas Reichel's kind of a wild card here, right? Like, because that's a spot that if he's on the roster, he's probably going to play. You got Sam Lafferty here too, so there's not a ton of open forward spots. So if they move Lucas Reichel or Lucas Reichel has a disappointing, preseason and training camp, maybe they give Moore of the job right away. If Reichel comes out and looks like a guy who put in an offseason of work like we saw he's been doing and looks like a kind of a different guy, then maybe they give him the first opportunity at the NHL level and then bring up Moore a little bit later. But I think I think at worst for Oliver Moore, he gets the Frank Nazar treatment where he's down for maybe the first third of the season, see how he does, and then bring him up quickly. Because I think you could see, especially with the way, the new salary cap is, with the playoffs, you might see trades happening sooner. Teams might not be waiting until the absolute last minute to make deals. So if someone has their eye on Lucas Reichel, or Sam Lafferty or whoever it might be, if they feel that Oliver Moore is ready, they'll make room for him and get him up here. So I think if I'm handicapping it now, I say Rinzel, yes, Levshinov probably, Moore, I'd say 50-50, and I think Green and Lardis start in Rockford.
Very nice. I think we've been talking about the Reichel dilemma a lot in the show, especially last week. What does your gut say is going to happen with Lucas Reichel? Because for me, he's probably one of the more fascinating players in the system. Could still be an X factor here, but for me, it kind of feels like the ship has sailed. Like, what does your gut say happens with Reichel this season?
I don't think he finishes the season as a Hawk. I just think as you look up and down the system, you got guys in Rockford who are ready, who they believe are ready. We already talked about Moore. We already talked about Ryan Green. Samuel Savoie still needs a look at the NHL level. Colton Dock, if he's healthy, can be a role player. So I don't really see where Reichel fits. And the thing with him is if he's not scoring for you, he's not doing much else, right? And I sort of question the idea of why was he the fourth line center last year with Craig Smith and Pat Maroon. I feel like you're not getting what you need from him in that role. However, I'm also of the mind of, well, you need to earn an opportunity on the top six, and he certainly didn't do that either. So I see both sides of it. I think this is going to be a real make or break couple months for Reichel. Yes. Thursday camp opens. He has to have the mindset of, I need to make an impression here on this new coaching staff from day one. I need to be dynamic. I need to be fast. I need to be responsible. All the things that Jeff Blashill talked about from all the interviews he's done since the day he was hired of that quote unquote winning hockey, Lucas Reichel needs to show. And look, I mean, his name's been out there. Elliot Friedman has said it several times, but it's always real vague. Like, hey, if the Hawks get an offer they like, they're happy to move him. And that's sort of what it feels like for now. So I think they're going to give him a chance. He's on the roster, reasonable deal. He's got some skill. Give him a shot and see what happens. But at some point, Lucas Reichel just is what he is, and we're just going to have to deal with that's what he is. The problem for him is he can't do anything aside from in the top six theoretically. So,
right. What do you think about that? I know you're a big Lucas Reichel believer. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, no, everything that Jay just said is very true. I think that this is his last chance, and I've been saying that for a while. I also don't know where he stands. Like, he has potential. Everybody can see that. But it's just a matter of, is he going to stay consistent or not? I feel that's one of the big things that he lacks is consistency. Like, we know he's a great player. We've seen that he could be a great player. It's just a matter of, is he going to put in the work to make that top 6 spot? Will he be on center? Will he be on the wing? I am kind of still confused about where he stands with that whole situation. But I also am just waiting to see kind of where he fits and what the coaching staff does with him. I'm very interested to see what he does in training camp. I feel like that is a very big factor in where he stands in the lineup this year in the roster. And we are all kind of confused and on edge and just kind of waiting to see what happens with him. And if he doesn't make it, I do agree that Oliver Moore has a really big chance. I feel like Moore and Reichel have very similar qualities. They're fast, and I think that if we can't get Reichel to do what he needs to do, then Moore can easily take his spot.
I kind of like to see him play with each other. I think Moore is the center,
that would be
Reichel is the
very
wing.
interesting.
Yeah, I think we saw a little bit towards the end of the year last year. I think that'd be a fun combo. Let's talk about a less confusing and more positive development. We probably should have let off of this, honestly. Spencer Knight.
Yeah.
The Knight extension. What do you think about that, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say out of nowhere because
Yeah.
there were a little bit of whispers they want to get it done, but as the season was approaching, it seemed maybe less likely. But I think both sides are pretty happy with this. I would have liked to see more term because I do believe Spencer Knight is that dude. But I think it's smart for Spencer Knight to sort of bet on himself and say, let me do the next 4 years here. And I'm going to bet that I'm going to be one of the best goalies in the league by then, and then hit unrestricted free agency and make some more money, which is it's smart. It's his right. I am always for players getting the money they deserve, but I think from a Hawks fan, Hawks observer standpoint, you kind of would like to have that a little more security in terms of years, but the deal's solid. I think it's a fair value. I don't know if it's a bargain like it is for Alex Vlasic. I think it's about right. So both sides feel happy, both sides feel content. And you could tell the Hawks very much believe in Spencer Knight, and they should. I mean, the way he played in his time in Chicago, he kept them in games they had no business being in. He flat out stole a couple games for them. And you can go and look at the traditional stats of goals against and save percentage, and I don't think it tells the whole story because look at the defense that was in front of him at the end of the year, right? He was asked to do a lot, but when you dig into some of the more granular numbers, you see what Spencer Knight was able to do, and he's right up there with some of the best in the game. So I'm excited he's here for the next 4 seasons, and let's just hope that when after 4 years pass, that both sides are happy and both sides want to stay. Because if you're thinking about this team in 4 years, and the things go the way it feels like they might,
Yeah.
they're going to be in really good shape, and it's going to be a really strong negotiation point for Spencer Knight.
Yeah, it's going to be a big year for him, right? I know you guys talked about on the show. He's definitely probably, you could argue, the biggest X factor in this Blackhawks team. Just getting a full year of him as a starter back there. And it's going to be a very young defense in front of him, so there's no doubt going to be some growing pains there. But it definitely feels like there's a lot of potential back there. And excited to see how he performs over these next 4 years and what that deal looks like in 29-30. And hopefully he'll be extending with the Blackhawks that time. We shall see.
Hopefully we'll see, 2035 at that point. Keep it going.
Yeah, that could be a big time payday if where those contracts are heading with goaltenders.
That's right. Speaking of extensions, I wanted to get Jay's thoughts on Connor Bedard's potential extension coming up either this season or after this season, and kind of how everyone's expecting him to take this big jump this year, and how will that affect, this number that we see him signing for, depending on how this season goes.
Well, I mean, I think regardless of if he has another season this year, like next year or like last year, I know people are going to freak out, and maybe rightfully so. I want to see a little bit more from him this year in terms of statistics, but he's still going to be he has to be the highest paid player on your team. I mean, I always go back to what Theo Epstein said when he took over for the Cubs, and he said, like, you don't pay for past performance, you pay for what you think is coming. And I think if Connor Bedard has anything close to the season we're expecting, you're going to be looking at 9. I mean, you're giving Frank Nazar basically 7, right? So you've got to make Bedard the highest paid player on the team. And I mean, is it 10 million? It might be. Like it's kind of hard to predict, right? Because we don't know what kind of season he's going to have, but all the off-season training videos look super exciting, and he does look faster. And we got to watch him a little bit before prospects camp at Fifth Third. The NHL team was on the other surface, and I don't know, he looks faster, but it's not an NHL game, right? Like it's so hard to tell. But I just think the natural ability he has, the pedigree he has, the expectations that were put on him, we're not just done willy-nilly. They didn't pick his name out of a hat. It's from years and years and years of watching him grow and develop and play in junior, play in the World Junior Championships, and the level of dominance he had. That's not a fluke. So it's coming at the NHL level. Kyle Davidson knows that. Connor Bedard knows that. So I think it's going to get done. I'm not worried about it getting done. I think it could be anywhere between like 9 and 12. I think 12 would make me go a little bit, but if it's 8 years and we're talking about Kaprizov walking away from 16 million, right? Like rejecting that, then that sort of tells you that where contracts are headed. So maybe in 2 years, 12 million seems like a bargain. I'm glad this is not my job because it's really difficult to project like, okay, what's he going to be worth, especially with the cap going up. But Kyle Davidson's done a good job at getting team friendly deals. And even if this Bedard one is not super comfortable the second it's signed, at least you have in the back of your head, like, okay, fine, maybe Bedard feels overpaid by $1 million or $2 million at the moment, like at the day the ink is drying on the paper, right? Some of those team friendlier deals you have kind of ease that a little bit. Of, all right, well, you got Vlasic for 4 plus, so he's worth more than 4. So you kind of do the mental gymnastics to make it make sense. But I think most of the deals that Kyle Davidson has signed have been fair or a bargain. And I would hope it would remain that way with Connor Bedard. And I have no reason to think that it won't.
If you had to rank the Vlasic, Nazar, and Knight deals, how would you order them? Because I would agree with you. I'd say in terms of the real Blackhawks are going to be a part of this core, I'd say he's nailed the contracts. You could say he's had some questionable ones of some free agent signings, but I'd say in terms of the core pieces of this team, I think he's done an excellent job. Where would you? I mean, it might be hard to answer that question now, but how would you rank those contracts today?
I mean, as of today, I think Vlasic at 4.6 is an absolute steal.
Yeah.
Nazar, it's early, right? It's gonna be 6.6 million. I think we're all pretty people that have watched Frank Nazar play, and that includes everyone talking on this podcast right now, feels pretty comfortable that he's gonna translate into a player worth that money.
Oh yeah.
But it's a big risk. So I don't want to sound, this is gonna sound bad, but like I'm gonna say Vlasic, Knight, and Nazar. But I still love the Nazar deal, right? It just feels like probably the biggest gamble of the three. But I think they're all very solid. Like they all make perfect sense to me. And when I saw the Nazar deal, it didn't concern me at all. But I just think you kind of know what you have in Spencer Knight. He's got a decent sample size behind him. We know what Alex Vlasic is, and we think if anything, it's only going to get better. With Nazar, we're not 100% sure he's going to get to a $7 million player level of play, but we're pretty confident, right? It feels like a reasonable bet. So I think that's what I would say, Vlasic, Knight, and Nazar, just based on the risk factor.
Okay. Shifting gears here, you did bring up Kirill Kaprizov's name earlier. Might be a Minnesota Wild talk, could be Chicago talk. Do you think there's any chance that he indeed doesn't sign in Minnesota and then maybe there's something there next year?
Yeah, I do. I think because look, if you're saying no to $16 million, and I think, Craig Leopold, the owner of the Wild, was very cocky and like, oh, I've got the deal here in my pocket and no one's going to pay him more than we are. And he's like very arrogantly slaps down this 8-year, $16 million deal. Yeah. And he's like, nah, I'm good. And I think that caught everybody in Minnesota off guard. So now I think they kind of have to scramble and say, okay, how high are we willing to go? And maybe that's what Kaprizov is doing too. Let the Wild bid against themselves. Maybe they go up to 17 or 18. He says, great, fine, 17, 18, done. Or maybe he wants to play somewhere else. And when you look at that, if he's going to reach free agency, which would be a big mistake for the Wild, if it gets there, it's got to be a sign and trade. If he reaches free agency, who's got more money than the Hawks? And who's got a more appealing place to play? I mean, sure, would it be better to go play for the Panthers or the Lightning or the Knights? Of course, but they're not going to be able to pay him anything close to $16 million. So the Hawks can meet the contract need. They can meet the roster spot. They can meet the line mate and Connor Bedard. And if he is the Hossa to this Blackhawks team, great. And
Yes.
I just, for me, I feel like if the Hawks want Kaprizov, they're going to have to trade for him.
Mm.
And if they're trading for him, you're losing a player you love.
Yeah.
It's going to cost you Levshinov or Rinzel or Nazar and a first. And like, to get a superstar player, you have to, it's not going to be Lucas Reichel in a 4th-round pick for Kirill Kaprizov, right? Like, and Minnesota is also the mindset of they want to win now. They're not trying to start a rebuild. They're trying to win. And they've got all this cap space now freed up from Suter and Parise, right? So they've got their eyes toward, and a lot of that in their mind was locked up for Kaprizov. But now if he's gonna want out, that changes everything for them. So I don't know. I just think it's gonna take a ton to get him. Would I be willing to trade one of those 3 names I mentioned for Kaprizov? Yeah. I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow, but if you're going to get one of the game's top 5 wingers, it's going to cost
You're
you
gonna
a
have to make
prospect.
sacrifices.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
going to have
for
to.
sure.
Be easy.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not gonna be
Korchinski,
easy.
Reichel to first, probably not going to get the job done.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, no.
That is, I mean, even, and you think about too, they're definitely going to want a 2026 first, so they get a shot at Gavin McKenna.
Yeah.
So the value of the Hawks first this year is very high.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, even if let's say they're in a 70-point range, which is optimistic but realistic, I guess you'd say, it's not impossible. They're still going to be in the top. They'll probably be picking in the top 5 to 7,
Mm-hmm.
and they got a lottery shot, so that lottery ticket's got value. So I don't know. It's it's very tempting to make a run at him. I mean, if he reaches free agency, all bets are off. You just throw the bag at him and make him come here,
Right.
But to acquire him, it's going to take some pain. And this is the kind of the one question I have about Davidson is like, can he make the huge trade
Yeah.
to add a piece? And that, the Seth Jones trade was great. Everybody's happy with it. Florida's happy with it. The Hawks are happy with it. Wonderful. But can he convince that free agent to sign here, the top free agent, or can he go acquire somebody of that caliber? And that remains to be seen. I'm not saying he can't. I just don't know. I don't have the answer yet.
You brought up 70-point range potentially. That seems like the next question to ask. What are your expectations of the Blackhawks this season? Probably another year in the dumps here, but do you expect a decent improvement, wins, points wise? You see those young players take the next step. What are you thinking going into this 25-26 Hawks season?
Yeah, I'm more concerned about how the season feels. I know it sounds weird, but I'm not so caught up in point totals because I think you're going to have some games where having a young defensive core costs you 2 points, right? A late turnover, or a bad decision, or the wrong guy being covered. You also are going to have an adjustment to a new coaching staff and a new coaching system early in the season. So you might have a little bit of rust there. I think you're going to lose a lot of veterans at the deadline because you have so many pending UFAs that you don't really probably see as part of this team's future. So the point total isn't a huge concern for me. I want to feel good about Bedard. I want to feel confident in Nazar. I want to feel positive about Rinzel and Levshinov. And you just hope that all these prospects, like the arrow continues pointing up. If Spencer Knight has a good year, we talked earlier about the vibes around the Sharks, and they're very positive. I hope that they can. Well, I hope they have more points than the Sharks. But to me, it's more about the record is one thing. How do the guys that matter? How does it feel around those guys when the season ends? And I think that's the most important thing. Are the young players developing at the pace you hope? If the answer to that's yes, if it's 65 points, if it's 75 points, okay. You know what I mean? It just has to feel better. Because I think at the end of last year, we got that glimpse of Rinzel and Moore and Levshov, and the end of the season felt better.
Yes.
Than probably the 70 some games before then. So
March and April is a ton of fun. If we can get that all year, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Charlie, I know you want to ask a question.
Yeah, just speaking about how the boys are going to look on the ice this year. Kind of looking forward a few more years. What's your kind of grade A through F in terms of belief in Kyle Davidson, of him to put this all together and bring the team back to contention? How are you feeling on Kyle?
I'm going to give it a B because I think that there is still some unanswered questions about his ability to land that free agent. Now, look, go back to last summer, 2 summers ago, rather, and he didn't get the A+ free agents, but
Mhm.
Bertuzzi and Teravainen were pretty decent free agent additions. So he's been able to do that. You mentioned earlier in the interview that some of the deals for the veterans were a little bit questionable. And I agree that, but I think in the context of where the Hawks are, they kind of needed a buy-in from these
Sure.
vets to, all right, if I'm going to come here and get my ass kicked for 2 years, I'm going to need some sort of
Yeah.
like financial, help me out here a little bit. So, and also the cap floor, all those sort of things in consideration. Um, but I just need to see, if he can pull off that big deal. And
Mhm.
I want to see too, like when it's time to be aggressive, will he be aggressive? Because let's be honest, this part of the rebuild is probably the easiest.
Mhm.
Trading Patrick Kane wasn't easy. Walking away from Jonathan Toews wasn't easy. Trading DeBrincat wasn't easy, but that's done. You get Bedard, you win the lottery, great. He put the Hawks in the best position he could to do that, and it worked. If it didn't, this rebuild feels a lot different, right?
Yeah.
If it's and nothing against Fantilli or Leo Carlsson, but I don't think any of us think that they're either of them are Connor Bedard. But Bedard's here, so fine. The prospects he's drafted besides Bedard, you feel good about pretty much all of them. I think maybe Paul Ludwinski would be the one if we're looking up and down
Mhm.
the system of like, all right, second round pick that really hasn't taken a step. I think there's a lot of questions about Kevin Korchinski yet,
Yeah.
but he's still 20. So it's way too early to make any sort of call on what Kevin Korchinski is going to be. So you feel good about the draft picks. You feel good about the smaller trades he's been able to pull off, like getting Mikheyev and getting, not that Spencer Knight was a small trade, but being able to pull that thing off. But I'm pretty happy overall with the job he's done. But when it comes time to win, when it comes time to add, when it comes time to reinforce,
Mhm.
that's what I need to see from him. And like I said earlier, I can't say he's bad at it because I don't know if he's tried yet. We heard he tried to get Jake Gensel and it didn't work. Jake Gensel went to Tampa. That makes all the sense in the world for Jake Gensel, right? Like,
Mhm.
why would he come to if it's Chicago or Tampa? Let's see, I can go to Tampa and win and not pay taxes, or I can come to Chicago and lose and pay taxes. Just let me think. You know
Real
what I mean?
difficult decision
Like,
there.
yeah, right. Like it's a
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
obvious choice that most of us would make. But I want to see him convert some of those. And when I see him convert some of those, um, I'll be fully sold. But we deal with people on CHGO all the time. They're like, fire Davidson.
Yeah. Same.
Well, but I just don't. Okay, sir, what, like, you want Peter Chiarelli to come in here for like the fifth time? And I just, like, what's the alternative? I like that he's a younger mind. Does he lack experience as a GM? Yes, but maybe that's good.
Mhm.
I think some of these older guys are just going from the next job to the next job. And Kyle Davidson's a guy that started his career in Chicago. He's been here, he picked up Tavo at the airport when I forget if it was the draft or his first call up, whatever it
Yeah. I believe it
was.
was the draft. Yeah.
Yeah, he was just like started as basically like an intern and worked his way up. And like you hear the guy talk, and I think he's always been fully transparent about the plan. He said last April when the season ended, like, I don't expect to sign anybody this summer.
Mhm.
He flat out told you,
Yeah.
like, there's just not a lot of guys available and there's not a lot of interest in coming here. And some people saw that as excuse making. I sort of just saw it as him being honest and real. Um, I just don't, everyone that wants to fire Kyle Davidson, the only other response I see is Dale Talon. And Dale Talon's like pushing 80 and just wants to golf all the time. Like, I don't know why, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he is a perfectly competent GM. I think that's what we know about him so far.
I think that there is something the question to bring up with Dale Talon though, because like he was largely responsible for building that dynasty team, but he wasn't really there to see the fruits of his labor. Could you maybe see that being a conundrum of Davidson, or do you think maybe he gets a chance to when this team gets back in contention, whatever the timeline for that is, you think he'll still be here?
I do, because I think Danny Wirtz has a full understanding of where the Hawks are.
Okay.
Right. So I don't think there's any sort of expectations put on, like we were talking about earlier, this year to make a run to the playoffs or
Sure.
anything
Yeah.
like that. Now,
Yeah.
if it's 2 or 3 more years of being a bottom three team, then we got to have some conversations, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got Bedard here. You're going to have Nazar on a $6.6 million deal. And if he's not putting up the numbers and Spencer Knight hasn't panned out, then you're seeing some either bad decisions and or lack of development. Then that becomes a concern,
Okay.
right? But I think right now we're still in the waiting period. We're still like, let's keep in mind this rebuild really started in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like strip it to the studs, start from zero. So if people think that 2025, 26 is going to be this big turnaround year, like this rebuild is still very new. And the guys that are going to be, aside from Bedard and aside from Nazar, the guys that are going to be part of this long term are just getting here or are still like a year away, like Sasha Boisvert,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like maybe we see him at the end of the year. Anton Frondell, whose name we've been talking for like half hour, his name hasn't come up yet, right? Like, so he's a year, maybe he plays this year, maybe he plays next year. And he's going to be a huge piece. That's a number 3 overall pick. They're going to pick again in the top 5 this year. So I just don't think it's realistic to expect here's what I'll say. People that pay attention to what the Hawks are actually doing understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
For those that like just check in on the box score, they watch, whatever sports wrap up show. The Hawks lost again. Connor Bedard didn't score a hat trick. This rebuild's a disaster. And then, back to Bears or back to Cubs or Sox. Right. But if you're really paying attention and you're watching what's happening below the surface,
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody feels fairly positive. I mean, look, are there a lot of question marks? Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. But the guys that you think are going to be part of this are succeeding as expected at their current level. Now,
what does your
when they
gut say? What year do we get back in the playoffs? What does your gut say?
Oh boy. It's not this year. I think next year you're starting to be like a Utah team,
Mm-hmm.
like kind of in the conversation, like right there sniffing it.
Okay.
Right. And then maybe after the deadline, things start as the contenders beef up and the pretenders start to sell off a little bit. Maybe you start to slip out of it a little bit. So that would be what, 26, 27?
Yeah.
So I would say 27, 28, the expectation should be firmly in a competition for a wild card spot.
Okay.
Like up to the last day of the season, they should be in the conversation for a playoff spot.
Okay.
I think that's a fair expectation. I mean, not knowing where they draft. If they get Gavin McKenna, all bets are off, right? So
that would just solve all our problems, wouldn't it?
but we all know he's going to Pittsburgh. Who are we kidding?
Yeah, it's a script.
Like, it's
Yeah.
100% happening.
That's my gut feeling. Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
No one, you got a question?
Yeah, off-cam producer Nolan here, Jay. Thank you so much for taking your time. We were talking earlier a couple minutes ago about Frondell and Kanserov and Boisvert. Out of those 3, who are you most excited to follow this season?
Boisvert is the easiest to follow.
He's right here.
because he's in the country.
Yeah.
I think Frondell,
Yeah.
you want to see him doing big things with your garden. I know he started as a third line center, which is fine. I have no concerns with that. Like, that's a team trying to win. They don't want young players in top roles. They're not trying to develop. They're trying to compete. But yeah, I think Frondell is fascinating. I mean, the comparisons to Barkov, I think, are maybe a little hopeful. But if he's, the great value version of Barkov, that'd be great. If he's just a reliable number 2 center that plays 2 ways and can give you 60 to 70 points a year and solid D, that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a huge win. So I mean, if he pans out to be what the hope is, then I mean, that's another really good all-star caliber player you're throwing into a lineup that you feel pretty good about already. So Frondell to me is the most interesting. I like Boisvert is fascinating, just because of the history and moving from North Dakota to Boston is going to be fun to watch. And you'll see him in the Bean Pot. You'll see him hopefully in the Frozen Four, and making some noise. So and then the World Juniors coming up too. Like,
right.
There's a lot of Hawks that could potentially be there. I think we're 100% sure Frondell's going to be there, and you want to see him do well at that level too. You want to see him be a difference maker. And I think if there was any doubt about Frondell, that was sort of it. Is that there's been some times where he's been not super noticeable out there, and you want to have that not happen in these World Junior Championships. You want him at the end of the tournament, whether it's gold or unmedaled for Sweden. You want him to be one of the standout players of the tournament.
For sure. Different subject matter, but I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't ask at least one question about this. So we got a new coaching staff this year, Jeff Blashill, and a new assistant staff as well. What do you expect out of Jeff Blashill? What are you kind of hoping he can instill in this Blackhawks team?
I like that he is a direct and vocal communicator. Yeah. And I'm not like you gotta get a fire and passion coach and make them back skate if they lose. Like, I don't believe in that at all. I just think that maybe with Luke and a little bit with Anders, they were a little bit soft spoken. They were a little bit not like, to steal a word from Luke always says firm. That's Sorensen always says that. Yeah. Maybe not firm enough with the players. I think there should be a standard, and I think that standard should be upheld by everybody on the team. And as excited as we are about Connor Bedard, we have seen some things from him that should not go. I don't want to say punished, like scratched or anything or sent down. I'm not saying that, but like, if it's the 5th careless turnover at the blue line in the game, there's got to be some kind of message sent to him that that's not okay. And I think. And I'm just using him as an example. If it's Levshinov that turns the puck over 3 times at the blue line, like, that's got to be addressed. And I feel like maybe under Luke and Anders, there was a little bit of kid gloves with some of the younger guys. And look, like, I'm 47. I don't pretend to understand how 20-year-olds work. I got a 15-year-old I'm trying to figure out myself. So I get it. Kids are different now, but I think they desire to be coached. I think they want to be coached. I think they want to be pushed. I think they want to have expectations. And I think sometimes when you have a staff that doesn't hold you to that, you can kind of get complacent and like, all right, well, they don't seem too upset that I turn that over. So whatever, no big deal. I think pressure is good. Pressure is going to make this team better. And I think Blashill having clearly stated, clearly illustrated expectations for the team is going to be a good thing. He's got experience. He seems to have learned from his mistakes in Detroit. When asked specifically about them, he said, like, well, I changed things up too quickly. Like, if 2 games went bad, I changed all the lines and maybe I need to be more patient. Then he goes and works with John Cooper. I know when the hire was made, it was met with a big meh from a lot of people, myself included.
Yeah.
But as time goes on, you're like, okay, if it's not David Carl, this makes a lot of sense. Based on the experience and the pedigree and the people he's coached with before, from Babcock to Cooper, like 2 totally different sides of the coaching spectrum in terms of attitude and the way they address their team and everything. I think it makes a lot of sense. We'll see if it pans out. I like the hiring of Mike Pekka. Mike Vellucci's been coaching in the NHL and other levels forever. So experience is not an issue there. I like that Sorensen is there for the transition. We had Tony Granato on the show last week. And if you remember, he was the head coach at Colorado, and they fired him and hired Quenneville, and then Quenneville kept him on as an assistant. And we asked him, like, how is that going to be for Sorensen to do? He's like, he's got the personality to handle it. I had the personality to handle it. He's going to have the personality to handle it. There's no ego there. He just wants to be there to help, so that continuity is going to be helpful. And it's going to help the new staff say, hey, you know what, XYZ works with Alex Vlasic, but not so much with Frank Nazar. Here's how I got to talk to these guys. So his insights on the young players is going to be, I think, really valuable. So, I feel fine about it. Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm excited or, getting T-shirts printed, but right. I think that he's going to bring something that this team has lacked for the last few years in the accountability.
Do you think he's it's a hard question to ask now, but just like in terms of like what's going to happen here, you think he's more of like a transition coach to get out of this rebuild? Or you think he has a shot to be the guy when we're back in contention, hopefully?
I think he's got a shot. I don't think that he's hired to be fired.
Yeah.
If I'm betting if he's the Hawks coach when they win the Stanley Cup, I would say probably not. But I don't know who else it would be, right? Unless David Carl's like, call me in 3 years when these guys are ready. But then David Carl, I mean, don't want to keep talking about the Bears. Damn it. But the Bears went and got football David Carl.
That's working out great so far.
And it's been an adjustment, right? So maybe you don't want to plug in a first-time head coach when you feel like it's time to win. So I don't know. I feel like he's going to be given a chance to make this his team. I don't think Kyle Davidson just said, well, we didn't get David Carl, so yeah, F it, Jeff Blashill, fine.
Okay. Charlie, you got the next one?
Yeah, I definitely agree on all that. And, he's going to be good for the accountability of the young guys is the biggest thing I kind of take from his hiring for sure. Going over to Winnipeg, I just wanted to ask what you think about Toews returning to his hometown and, joining a cup contender as someone who's been there in the locker rooms for 3 championships, and just, how that's going to help an already competitive locker room, and what he brings, despite, his play might not be there, but just being that guy in the room and how that helps.
Well, yeah. Well, I hate it.
Yeah,
I hate
of
seeing him
course.
in another uniform, but I think, he's chronicled very clearly what he's been through the last few years, and it's harrowing. Um, if there's anybody I'm betting on though to overcome that, it's Jonathan Toews. Like he's got that will, he's got that want to and that desire to be the best all the time, and I think that's why he walked away, because he knew he couldn't be.
Right.
He could have stuck around for a couple more years and gotten his 50, 60 points and his big contract and been content with that, but he wasn't. He wanted to get better. He wanted to see what he could do. I think what's going to be great for him and the Jets is he's not going to be counted on for a ton of offense. He's not going to be counted on to lead them statistically. He can just kind of go out there and get back to what he's going to be at his own pace. They'll probably start him on the bottom 6. I think that makes perfect sense. I mean, 37-year-old center. But I don't think it's going to take him long. As long as his body doesn't betray him and he doesn't get right back to the health issues he had, I think he's going to be a perfect, bottom 6 center for them. Adds a ton of depth. He's going to win a ton of faceoffs. He's going to defend like a mofo. That's the kind of guy you want to add to a playoff team all the time. And if Jonathan Toews is in uniform on the ice, he's going to give you every ounce he has. So I don't think Winnipeg's worried about it at all. I just wonder how long it's going to take him to get back to feeling anything close to himself.
Yeah.
But reports out of Winnipeg are he looks rusty, but the skill is still there. Like, you still see it under the surface there. So I would imagine he's going to play in a lot of their preseason games just to get back to game speed and game intensity. But I think he's going to have, I don't know, if I'm making a stat prediction, 40 points.
Okay.
I don't know. Is that, I don't think that's
It's a
unreasonable.
reasonable
Probably-
expectation, I
I don't
think.
think that's
Yeah, if he plays the full
outrageous
82,
at all.
or
Yeah.
close to that.
35 to
Yeah.
40 was kind of my thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not expecting prime Jonathan Toews here, but I do hope he looks a bit better than those last couple of years in Chicago. You could tell that the health issues he was still dealing with, he wasn't fully himself, but claims he's back now, and I think we're all just excited to see him back on the ice for sure.
When you see Jonathan Toews show up at Camp Chubby, you know something is wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's in
Right,
insane shape, that guy.
Why would he come in? Jonathan Toews came in overweight. That's like unheard of.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's So I think then was the first red flag, and then the dots started connecting, and we figured out what was going on. So yeah, I think it makes all. I think Winnipeg is going to get exactly what they want from him.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to kind of pivot to the other half of the Blackhawks dynasty duo, as I call them, Patrick Kane. We discussed a little bit earlier about Kane and his quest for an Olympic roster spot. So, Jay, I want to ask you, do you think Kane is going to make the Olympic team?
That's a good question, because I feel like, I don't know. I don't know. I wrestle with this in my head because there's part of me that has he deserves it because of what he's accomplished. And you owe him that opportunity as being, in my mind, the greatest American-born player ever. And maybe he's not one of the top 12 American forwards right now, but if you put Patrick Kane on the international stage and the gold medal's on the line, you think he's going to let you down?
Hell no.
Absolutely not.
Of course not. Of course not. And if you just want to cherry pick his minutes and use him on the power play only or whatever it might be, fine. But I don't know. I do feel like there's a little bit of you owe this to him for all he's done for the game. But at the same time, you're trying to win a gold medal. And does he give you the best chance to do that? Maybe not. So I want to see it. I'm rooting for it to happen. If he makes that team, there's going to be a Patrick Kane moment or 2.
Yes, sir.
Or
Absolutely.
3.
He
Or
shows
4.
up in the clutch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He does it all the time. And he's continuing to do it in Detroit. We saw that firsthand and Chris Chelios night when he ruined it for everybody. He's that dude, and he will always be that dude. And I hope he makes it. I have no idea what they're thinking in building that roster. Are they sentimental about Patrick Kane or not? I think that's going to make a difference. But even if not, he's still in that conversation, right? I think you just need to
Absolutely.
look up and down and say, what are we trying to do? What are we trying to accomplish? They did the big bruising thing in the Four Nations and it almost worked. But having a clutch offensive player in the Four Nations might have been helpful. So I don't know. I I don't know how to handicap it, but I hope so. Let's just put it that way.
I think we all do. I think
Yeah,
we're all
we all
sentimental
do.
about
All in the
88
same
still,
boat.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
You knew we were going to
Yeah.
get a Kane Taste question there at some point. No one got the
That's
next one.
fine.
Yeah, I guess going from opposite ends of the spectrum, going from number 88 to number 8 over in Russia, Magnitogorsk, Roman Kanserov. I figured I'd have to ask this because I've heard a lot of different spectrums of him. I've heard he won't make the NHL. I personally have him, penciled in as a top 6 forward in the future. So I wanted to get your thoughts and your takes on what you view of Kanserov in the future.
I would be disingenuous if I was giving you any sort of realistic breakdown on Roman Kanserov. Like, I've seen the highlights, I've read the scouting reports, I've seen what the prospects experts who have seen him have said. Um, I'm not going to have a feel for it until I see him against NHL level competition on NHL ice. I can't make a call. Everything we've heard so far has been positive, optimistic,
Yeah.
but for me to say surefire Blackhawk or I just don't know. I can't pretend to know. I'm hopeful that he's another name to add to this pile of stud prospects. And again, like we've been saying, all the reports are positive as it is for most Hawks prospects. But I have not upped my KHL TV subscription yet.
He loves
but-
his Kanserov tape. I knew you were going to ask that
Yeah.
question.
No, I
very,
mean,
very
look, I
big
guess,
Kanserov truther
A
here.
question to ask you
No,
is, who's
I mean,
your
look,
favorite, like under the radar Hawks prospect? Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, let's say like on Cancer, like we all see the highlights, but that's what highlights are, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, he scored a goal. Look, wasn't that great? Yes, it was. That goal was great. And you could build a highlight tape of everybody, but you just need to see the full body of work, right? I need to see how fast he looks in person. I need to see. So when he's here for training camp next year, whatever it might be, I'll have a better idea. But signs point to him being an NHL player. It just matters on what. My favorite under the radar prospect. Uh, boy. I mean, it's hard to not be excited about Mason West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See his football
Right,
tape?
My God,
Bears could use him.
crazy.
Yeah, watch out,
Yeah,
Caleb.
for real. But just like the size of the kid, the fact that he's only really been half committed to hockey and was still a first round pick.
Mhm.
It's like when he fully digs into the game and fully commits to the game with NHL eyes on him, right? Like the Blackhawks development staff or Kendall Coyne or Brian Campbell or whoever, like getting after him all the time, coming to him with a training program with the, like I don't know, that's really really exciting. I think I don't know, Boisvert's probably not under the radar, so I wouldn't say that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Mason West. I think that's the most. He's a first round pick though. You know what? I'm gonna go Kanserov.
I like that one. I think no one will like that answer.
Just
I love
Nolan.
it. I love it.
Jay, I know you're a busy man. I'm sure. Are you guys recording a 2:00 show today? I imagine you guys are.
Yeah, 2:00 today. We're gonna have Charlie Romeliotis on. He was at the Tom Curvers prospect showcase, so we'll get an in-person report from him. And then we've got our mailbag show, and then camp opens Thursday. So we have finally made it, everybody.
Very nice.
Big
We'll
week.
ask you just one more question though,
Yeah.
and let you get out of here. Who do you think's going to win the cup this year?
Oh man, it's so hard to pick against Florida.
Yeah.
But it's like you're not gonna win 3 in a row. You can't win 3.
I hope not.
You can't.
Yeah.
And it has to happen for Edmonton at some point, right? Like it has to. But now you've got
I mean, McDavid,
now
we'll
you've
see.
got the McDavid cloud is hanging over everything now. And
Yeah.
like how is that going to impact the season? Now, if he signs before this year and that's all handled, okay. I mean, I don't know. I think it's the East again though. Last year I picked Tampa and then they lost in the first round, but they lost to Florida.
That was a tough matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's going to write off Tampa because, like, well, they lost in the first round. Yeah, to Florida. You know what I mean?
They lost Blashill. They're cooked.
Yeah. Well, and I like, I would say in the West, obviously Edmonton, I just love the way the Dallas Stars have built
Yeah.
their team. And if I want Kyle Davidson to model his general managing after anyone, it's Jim Nill, because not only are they they're a veteran team with really good older players, but they keep refreshing the system with these young guys that come in and contribute like right away, and they're never bad, right?
Mhm.
So and then he goes in and gets Mikko Rantanen, so he pulls off a huge trade, and now it's Rantanen's first full year in Dallas, so he's fully comfortable and ready to go. All right, I'm going to say Dallas over Edmonton in the West, and I'm going to say, I'm just going to say it's Tampa. It's Tampa in the final.
All right,
All
man.
right.
Florida
Yeah.
again,
Dallas,
man.
Tampa.
The state of Florida has been cooking hockey lately.
I know,
man.
but there's no one else like Carolina. All right, like they're always kind of the same.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're really good, but they're right there. Yeah, the Rangers, I don't know, like year to
Yeah,
year,
no.
what are the Rangers going to be?
Yeah.
They're always, they're always on the table for pulling off a huge deal and improving them. But like, I don't know, who am I missing?
Yeah, no, I mean, it really feels like it comes down to 4, 5, 6 every year. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So,
right.
I mean, is it the Leafs? Probably not.
No.
Now they got rid of that cancer Mitch Marner,
It's all just going to magically get better now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I like Dallas a lot. Yeah, so I'll say Dallas and Tampa in the Cup final.
All right, Dallas and Tampa it is.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jay. You've been really gracious of your time. Best
Yeah.
of luck with the show this year, and yeah, I'm sure we'll talk again. Absolutely,
Yeah,
thank you.
anytime.
for
You're
sure.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
All right.
Thanks.
See ya.
Take care.
All right, CHR enjoyers. That was Jay Zawaski from CHGO. Be sure to catch their 2:00 show today, talking with CHR legend Charlie Meliodas. So that should be a nice discussion. That was awesome. Really enjoyed that. What a wonderful guest.
Yeah, that was a great conversation. I feel like, not to, make it about agreeing. Like, I feel like we had a lot of the same thoughts about this Hawks team, mainly about Davidson and the belief in him, and then also about the young guys who need to step up and who will make the team. I feel like, we had a lot of the same thoughts that we discussed last week.
No, for sure. I mean, in terms of guys who are locked in, the Hawks, I think few are as locked in as Jay. So really gave nice in-depth answers there. It was really cool. Friendly reminder, Chad, if you like that, hype us up a little bit. Hype us up. We got a new feature on YouTube, comes out after the video, where you can hype up your favorite video 3 times a week. So if you think about that, you could hype up the Monday show, you could hype up the Wednesday show, and the Friday show. So no, we really appreciate that. And also, CHR merch drop. We got that cooking on the Alethea website. Be sure to check us out there. We really appreciate that. Do you guys want to talk about the Bears at all for our Monday sports segment? I mean, I don't think we really want to talk about that too much.
I really wouldn't want to, but I just want to hear your thoughts. How was your viewing of the game?
It was not very enjoyable. Did not enjoy it whatsoever. 52-21, one of the most embarrassing losses I've ever seen in my time as a Bears fan. They just always seem to find a way to just invent these embarrassing ways to lose, and just especially in Ben Johnson's first game, versus his old team. That's just not the way you want to go out there. Normally the Bears lose in like a close, edging fashion. This time they just get completely blown out. So not what you want to see in week 2. It's not week 1, so the same excuses don't really apply. So you hate to see that. Yeah. You guys watch a game?
I did not watch it in its entirety. I watched most of the first quarter, and right off the bat from kickoff, first play the Lions I think they had like a 20-yard gain.
Yeah, 30-yard gain to
that just set the
ARSB.
tone, right?
Yeah.
To St. Brown right away. You kind of saw that, and you said, okay, this team that the Packers that the Lions played last week obviously have a great defense, and we saw the Lions struggle. I came into this Sunday not expecting to see that from the Lions, and right off the bat, because they're playing the Bears, just electric play after electric play. And 5 passing touchdowns for Jared Goff on the day, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was utterly ridiculous, honestly. It also sucked having Jalen Johnson go down. He went down again after playing a pretty good, I'd say, quarter and a half before he got injured. He was sticking step for step with Jamison Williams on one of those plays. Even though people didn't think so, I thought so. It really sucked too, because my roommate Evan was at the game, and he was sending me live play-by-play like 10 seconds before, and that's just one of the things that just pisses me off, when it's just like, you get it spoiled for you, and I just thought it was the absolute worst, and especially with the Lions putting up 52, terrible.
Yeah, it just wasn't even close, man. It wasn't even close from the drop of the kickoff there, which is what you hate to see. You guys have anything else you want to talk about in the Chicago sports landscape? Something more positive?
Sure.
Yeah.
The Cubs. I mean, they won 2 out of their 3 games this weekend against the Rays.
Right.
I put in my notes, PCA is washed. He had no hits this weekend at all. Like 10 plus plate appearances, no hits at all. How?
Yeah, he's had quite an awful second half of this summer.
And I just feel like that's the Cubs' new curse. Being really good in the first half, then the All-Star break happens, and then they just fall off. We see it every single year.
Yeah.
And
They struggle to the finish line.
exactly. I have no idea about playoffs for them. I just am hoping.
They're in the first wild card spot right now. They're 3.5 up, I believe, on the Padres for the second. It would take a lot for them to completely miss the playoffs. I can definitely see them dropping out of the first wild card. However,
Yeah, it's the Cubs. Come on.
that is
It's
in
the Cubs.
in a very possible situation for us. And unfortunately, if we do get the top wild card spot, I believe we get Milwaukee in the first round.
Oh, that's great for you guys.
It wouldn't
That's
be Milwaukee,
great for you
I don't
guys.
think. It would be 4 versus 5, and then
That's
3
right.
versus 6.
If we drop to 2 or 3, however, we could get Milwaukee. So we need to stay
Yes,
in number
yes,
1
yes.
to avoid them. That's
Correct.
right. That's right.
Well, you guys know what I'm going to be doing. Praying on y'all's downfall.
Whatever.
Praying for the White Sox draft lottery, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so. I mean, you guys have been playing pretty well lately. I would say it's pretty cool seeing Rizzo at the game, and you almost
was
caught
awesome.
that home run. You see
Of
that? That was
course.
pretty
That was
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, a lefty, or I believe is Moises a switch hitter?
Moises is a left-handed hitting catcher.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, left-handed hitting catcher who currently doesn't project great as a defensive prospect at catcher, so he could end up as a first base or DH in his career.
I'd probably say DH. Yeah, that's just my
but
personal
the
opinion.
The Cubs top left-handed prospect currently who's hitting great since he's come up. Hits a ball right to Anthony Rizzo, their former lefty slugger. And he's
Absolutely.
Then he
Really?
drops it, one last error at Wrigley to kind of
can't
send
write
him
it
off,
better than
right?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, hits his hands, and he said that's why I retired when he didn't catch it.
Hawk style memes, Justin, with a W shirt. Yeah, I'm the only White Sox fan amongst us. So, unfortunately,
Boo, Wendy.
the lion watches the White Sox. The sheep watches the Cubs.
Ugh.
Oh my goodness.
Whatever, Justin. Whatever.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of Lions tuning into a 100 loss baseball club, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I guess so. Yeah. So, fellas, I think that'll do it for the Hawks Hour of the CHR show. We will be right back very shortly for NHL Hour. We got plenty of topics to delve into today. We'll get more into the prospect showcase around the league, notable things to talk about, some jersey drops from the Wings and the Caps.
Yeah.
Speaking my language.
Yeah, perhaps more Kaprizov talk. If you listen to 32 Thoughts today, we will be right back on the other side of the hour. Hello, everyone. We are back for the
Welcome back.
second hour of CHR Monday, the NHL Hour. A lot to delve into today. We got some jersey drops, some more Caprizov talk, plenty to delve into, prospect showcase talk. Before we do, just a friendly reminder, if you haven't already liked this video on YouTube, please do that. Subscribe if you haven't already. We are slowly but surely closing in 1,000 subscribers. The gradual process there. We hope to be able to get there maybe by the start of the regular season. That would be nice.
That'd be super cool.
For sure. And then if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple, be sure to leave us how many stars? A 5-star rating and a review too. Like, we really do appreciate those reviews. They're always kind of wholesome. Nice little wholesome message to receive. So appreciate that. CHR merch drop on the Alithio website. Yes, you can
Nothing
pick
beats
up
it.
your CHR merch. Sorry?
Please do.
Nothing beats a CHR merch drop.
That's
Nothing
right.
beats a CHR merch drop.
See, it beats you to the punch, Nat.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Hey, listen.
Every show.
Listen. That's my cue.
Is that your coach cue?
Yes.
Very nice. Very
All
nice.
right, fair enough.
Yes, and remember, you can hype up these YouTube videos. You can hype up your favorite creators 3 times a week. So if you want to hype up this video 3 times, if you want to hype up each Monday, Wednesday, Friday show after they've been live, you can do that. So new feature on YouTube. We really appreciate that. Helps us out a ton. Really appreciate that. All right, I think it's time to get into the 3 stars of the
3
week.
stars, dang.
Let's go.
Here we go.
Who's going to lead off?
Who lit off last time?
I volunteer not to lead off.
I volunteer not to lead off.
I can lead off.
All right, Charlie.
okay.
There we go.
Just continuing our conversation before the break that we briefly touched on the Bears. My number 3 is I'm deciding it right now in the season. I'm released from Bears delusion. That's my 3rd star. I'm
Okay.
feeling
There you
I'm feeling
go.
peace because I am not falling for the trap anymore. Every week, getting hyped on Sunday, only for your week to be ruined by a very meaty, very middling football team. As all the other teams in this division have kind of flip flop back and forth. Who's the division winner? They just take turns on the Bears every year in terms of who's going to be at the bottom, and it's just not something I need in my life this fall, especially as the Hawks are about to start. The Bulls are going to disappoint us. So I'm just putting it in the sand right now. I'm released from Bears delusion. I'm not gonna give in to the hype anymore. I'm sorry.
We'll see about that one.
Yeah.
See you next Sunday.
They're gonna reel me back in. Yeah, next Monday you'll hear me talk about the Bears again, but
Yeah, they're famous for that, aren't
maybe
they?
in a less delusional way is all I'm kind of saying.
Yeah, they have not
I'm
been
gonna
treating you well with the Weber's wagers, have they?
No, man, not on the Bears side.
Hasn't been going too well.
0-2 on Bears covering spreads this season
Yeah,
for
you hate
the
to see
wager
it.
wire.
You
but
hate to see it.
Hate to see it.
We're coming in with realism next week.
All
the
right.
rest of the season.
We'll check in on
Save
that.
my delusion for the Hawks.
Yeah.
You're right. You
You're
can only be
right.
delusional about so many Chicago sports teams.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
There's a lot to be delusional about, so that's true.
Yeah, the Bears are like the polar bear in Arlington, Texas, when it comes to NFC North, because you got all these like powerhouse teams and the Packers, the Vikings, and the Lions. Then you just got the Bears just kind of chilling there. That's I guess their bye week. So yeah, it is what it
unfortunately.
is.
It is. So yeah, that's my number 3 star.
Your number 2 star.
My number 2 star, The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
The movie.
Okay.
Great film. I've probably watched it like 5 or 6 times at this point, but I saw it on my Netflix suggestion this weekend. I said, you know what? We're gonna take a ride with the dude this weekend.
There you go.
All right.
Watch some Big Lebowski. Brought me back to work a little bit because I work at a bowling alley part time. So a little bit of the scenes in there were definitely familiar. People shit talking during some bowling leagues and all the antics there. But then the movie just gets super weird and is not about bowling at all. I don't know if you guys have seen it,
Oh
but
yeah.
Yeah,
it's a very very interesting movie.
very
And,
nice.
Whenever I need it, it's there for me. So the
No,
Big Lebowski, just top on my heart right now.
Never,
I've seen
never
it.
lets you
Banger,
down.
In
banger.
terms of films I've seen the last month, number 1 for sure.
I'm sometimes told like I look like one of the 2 main guys in that movie. Yeah, some of my
one?
friends have told me that. It's been a while since I've seen it. Like the bigger guy, I don't know. I don't remember his name. I haven't seen the movie in a while, but I've been that comparison's been thrown around. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it's accurate. I don't think it is, but yeah.
I'll have to peruse through the cast and crew and see who matches up with you.
Yeah, I think it's probably it's similar to mine. It's probably just one of those off the cuff comparisons. Aren't really accurate. People do that. They just
we
don't
are
just tell you
looking-
look like anyone, right?
we are looking for doppelgangers, like we said
Yes.
last week.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, we're still looking for one. Yeah.
on the hunt.
All right.
All right. So number 2 was Big Lebowski, and my number 1 star of this week, Slagle Farms beef.
Oh,
I don't know, not sponsored, obviously, but it's a local Illinois beef farm. They sell to a lot of local restaurants, steaks, burgers. They're at a lot of markets. If you go to a restaurant around here, you could see, one of their steak cuts on the menu. But my boss, he acquired a pack of quarter-pound burgers from this place. The freshest beef burger I've ever had. Threw some on the grill this weekend. Like top 3 burger I've ever had in my life.
Really?
Just
There you go.
cooked on the grill at home.
Yeah.
Probably 30 miles outside Chicago. This beef farm. It just saved my weekend after the Bears lost. Turn on the grill Sunday afternoon.
That made you feel better?
Cook just an elite, 1 week ago fresh burger.
Yeah.
Just nothing like that.
W food.
Cheese, ketchup, pickle. That's it.
Very nice. Pickle. I'm not a big pickle guy. I like Alex Vlasic, but not actual
I had
pickles.
to keep it pretty simple.
you're one of
Taste
one
the
on
beef.
this panel who doesn't like pickles.
Am I the only one?
Yeah.
Really?
Nat
I guess
loves-
I'm always the only one, right? Everybody's always in agreement except me. I guess
we-
I'm just not a follower, eh?
I guess not.
Yeah. I forge my own path. Yeah.
So yeah, Slagle Farms beef. If you
Slagle
guys, if you
Farms
guys ever
beef.
have a chance to, make it out there, visit their store, buy their beef anywhere, please.
Well,
Very
damn.
nice.
I tell you what, you won't regret it at all.
All right. Very nice.
Very
Shout
nice.
out Slagle.
Very nice.
Who's got
Very
number
nice.
2 on the board? Yeah. I
Me?
guess, yeah, you got it?
All right,
All right.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
All right. My 3 stars of the week. Coming in at number 3, 21 Pilots for making me cry. For those of you who don't know, 21 Pilots is a very big alternative rock band from Columbus, Ohio. And
Ohio.
they released a new album called Breach on Friday. And the music video for their song City Walls was just absolute cinema. I mean, 21 Pilots is really cool because they have been kind of doing this storyline throughout their albums ever since 2015 when they released Blurry Face. So their albums since then, Blurry Face, Trench, Scaled and Icy, Clancy, and Breach have all been a part of this storyline. And the storyline officially ended with Breach, and the music video just made me lose it. It was a reference and a nod to every single era that has been a part of this story. And at the end of the video, they did kind of credits, and they said the story of Demo, which is like the fictional world, was written by Tyler Joseph, Josh Dunn, a couple of other people, and at the end it said, and you. And it made me cry. That band has gotten me through so much. They mean the world to me, and I'm seeing them next week. Very excited about it. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I will be in you. So that is my number 3 star of the week. Number 2, Chipotle, not sponsored obviously, because they brought back carne asada.
Yeah, they did.
Carne asada is my favorite meat and the only meat that I will ever get from Chipotle. I usually get veggie because, hot take, the meat at Chipotle is too spicy for me.
Really?
Yes.
Are you big into spice or?
No, I can't
you're not.
tolerate it at all.
That was a
Yeah.
super hot take, pun. Yeah. Hot take. Yeah.
I'm a big
Uh-huh.
spice
Yeah.
guy. I like
No,
spicy.
I can't do it. But yeah, carne asada is really good. I look forward to it every single year. Very happy about that. And my number 1 star of the week, shout out my little brother Eddie. He got a hat trick this weekend.
Oh, hell yeah.
At
Hey,
the
Eddie. Congrats,
Warrior Invitational tournament, preseason tournament. Really good for the kid. Got a hat trick and a couple of assists. I'm really proud of you, buddy. Keep doing what you're doing. You're gonna do great things this season. It's your last ride, so keep it up. You're gonna do great. I'm very proud of you.
Future Blackhawk
Yeah,
chance.
that's big stuff right there. Shout
We
out
have
Brother
a
Ed.
Very nice.
we have a question in chat from Crystal. Nat, are you going to the 21
she
Pilots
said,
concert?
Yes, I am going to the 21 Pilots concert. I am going to the one on September 23rd in Milwaukee, and I will be trying to camp out. I got pit tickets, so I will be getting there very, very early in the morning. I have never been barricade for a 21 Pilots show. I've been a couple of rows back. I almost got to hold Josh Dunn for Trees, and I got Tyler Joseph's paint that he uses on his hands splashed all over me. And I'm crazy to the point where I took a piece of packing tape, ripped off the paint splatter, and put it on an index card and put it in a jar with all the confetti that I got from the show.
Wow.
Very
creative.
Hardcore fan.
I am
I
a
respect
hardcore
that.
fan.
Yeah.
I've been to like 6 of their shows, and it's going to be my 7th one. No.
You knew what I was going to do.
We're not doing this. Come on.
But yeah, and then they have a show in Tinley Park the day after, and I haven't gotten tickets for that yet, but I am really looking for it. I'm going to try to get lawn seats. So yeah, it's a show that you can't miss. 21 Pilots always put on a great show. They have had some of the best shows that I've ever been to. So yeah, I'm very excited for that, and those are my 3 stars of the week.
Very nice.
Very
W
nice.
stars.
W
W
Natalie.
stars.
W Natalie.
Thank you.
W
Thank
Nats.
you,
I
you
want to
guys.
see W Nats
Oh,
in the chat
God,
right now.
no, please.
I know you love it when we do that.
No.
Yeah. Hype up Natalie chat.
I'm gnawing at the bars of my enclosure.
The second-hand embarrassment is real. All right. I will go number 3. We'll save the best for last there. Nolan,
There we
right?
go.
Yeah. All right. My 3rd star of the week, I believe, for her performance at the VMAs, which are absolute cinema, it got to be Tate McRae. I mean, just the moves she was putting on. I mean, I wish I could dance like that. I was a decent dancer back in the day,
Yeah.
like especially at the school gatherings and stuff. You know,
seem like you could bust a
I
move or two.
I
Yeah.
bust a
Yeah.
move. Yeah,
You're
I
known
do.
to.
I do the old disco routine. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
But no, she is fantastic. Probably honestly even more impressive of a dancer performer than a singer. Like she's a great singer. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
But
that was her first thing. She started off as a dancer before she was a singer,
Yeah.
and I'm also going to see Tate McRae in October.
Oh, very
and
nice.
I just got my outfit for it a couple days ago.
sweet. Oh man, I'm jealous. Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, very nice. Man, you're just you're checking off the concerts like in Infinity
I-
Stones
Concert
there.
fiend over
I've
here.
had- I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I'm going to hit at least 10, 15 concerts this year alone.
I can't remember the last concert I was at. I couldn't tell you. Actually, no, I think I do recall. I believe it
Sounds
was
like it was a good time.
I believe it was Kid Rock back in 2022. I think that
Ooh,
was the
nice.
last one.
Actually,
Okay.
sounds really
That
cool.
was an experience to
His
say the least.
steakhouse is really good.
Yeah, no, for sure. That was a time for sure.
I've been to only one concert. It was in June with my parents and my sister. It was Billy Strings at Allstate Arena.
Heck yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Billy
He
rips.
shreds,
Shredder,
dude. He
yeah.
shreds.
Big shredder,
Big shredder.
big paper shredder.
No, shreds on the guitar.
Yeah.
Shreds on the
Yeah, we know.
on the violin and shreds on
Yeah.
a lot of different instruments.
I was
He's a
just
very
playing.
multifaceted guy. So
Multi-fan. Very nice. Very nice. All right, my 2nd star of the week for his performance in the Prospect Showcase. First hockey star that I mentioned, Oliver Moore. Just that goal he scored on Saturday. I think I had to include him in these 3 stars. Just an absolute beauty, absolute beautician that Oliver Moore is. Really excited to watch him in the Blackhawks this year, and loved his interview afterward. Giving props to his teammate. Oh, really, it was all artists. He drew up the play. It really had nothing to do with me. Just a nice, humble chap there, and just a big fan of that kid. Love his personality, and I had to include him in my 3 stars for sure. Moorsey. I know it was just a Prospect Showcase, but I think it's a good sign of things to come for this season for him.
that was a beautiful goal.
It was.
Yeah, absolutely was,
Yeah.
right? Yes. St. Louis Blues owner before the season's even started, Oliver Moore.
Yeah, check Wikipedia. It's
Absolutely. It's true. He's their owner now. He is. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And actually, I have 2 Blackhawks for my 3 stars this week. I had to include them in here. Spencer Knight, baby. Gotham. That's
dark-
right. The Knight has
guy.
been locked up, extended in Chicago until 2029. Love to see that. Love to see both the Knight and Nazar deals get done this summer. Just waiting on Betsy. But no, Spencer Knight, love his personality. Just seems like a really likable guy. And I think we'll get a big season out of him this year. So, wow, Blackhawks hockey's hardly even started yet. I already got 2 of my 3 Hawks in the 3 stars. It really shows you how much other stuff I was consuming this week. Yeah, no, I think Spencer Knight got to be my 1st star. I think a sign of things to come for this season from him for sure.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. All right, Nolan, I believe that's you.
All right, yeah, save the best for last, as you just said. Number 3, I would like to shout out the creators of NyQuil.
Not sponsored.
NyQuil got, not sponsored, obviously, but NyQuil got me through all last week. I was battling a little bit of an illness, and it really put me to sleep. Normally my sleep schedule has been pretty messed up for the last, I want to say 6 months or something like that, where I'd be going to sleep at 3 a.m. and then waking up at noon. So
What's up with that, man?
I don't know, but we're on track thanks to NyQuil. NyQuil got me to bed at like 11 and waking up at 8 now. So, I mean, getting, you're good 8-9 hours of sleep as recommended by doctors. So I was very, very excited. It doesn't taste as bad as people think. I don't know if people are fans of the taste of cough medicine, but I thoroughly enjoyed, the NyQuil knocking me out and putting me to sleep.
Well, I'm glad that worked out well for you.
NyQuil.
NyQuil. All right. Number 2, again, not sponsored, but shout out to the DraftKings Ghost Lay. Obviously not sponsored, but they basically done this promotion during the NFL season where if you miss a leg on a parlay, doesn't matter. It'll revert back to however many legs you had it. So if let's say you go 4 for 5 and you miss the 5th leg, you go 4 for 4, and it paid out pretty well this week. Ended up doing a parlay with my guys at Miami. Shout out Evan, shout out Hawkeye. So the 4 of us, we each put a touchdown scorer in there, and then Evan's dad put in another touchdown scorer. So it was Rome Odunze, Jahmyr Gibbs, T. Higgins, and DK Metcalf were the 4 that hit. And who was it? Justin Fields did not hit. Just shocker, right?
I think he exited due to injury.
Yeah, not shocked, but apparently from Jets fans, he did not look well yesterday. So, because Justin Fields was injured and didn't score the touchdown, it still reverted back to 4 for 4. So I think I hit a 33-1 parlay yesterday.
Oh, well, congratulations!
Yeah, no, I will take that. So that's a little bit of money in the pocket, right?
It is.
Absolutely.
Hey, we all need some walking around money. Right?
Yeah, I needed some money for my coffee this morning, so I was very grateful for that. And then my number 1 star of the week. Shout out to Anthony Rizzo, man. That whole bleacher performance was awesome. I think, having the jersey with the kids who were battling cancer, they signed it.
Oh,
so
cool.
I thought that was super cool. And then once he was in the bleachers, he was handing out like cards, like business cards, for 1 free drink from Anthony Rizzo. So Rizzo was paying for beers in the bleachers. So I thought that was super cool of him to do.
What a guy.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, very cool. Obviously, he missed the Ballesteros home run, which he's had a laugh about, but he was able to get another toss-up for me and Hap, along with a $100 bill. Like, why does the rich get richer, right?
Yeah.
And on the ball, it said, "You'll never have to pay for a beer again in Chicago," which, I mean, do you blame him?
No,
not at all.
Man, imagine if he would have caught that. That would have been an insane Aura moment.
Yeah, that would have, but I mean, obviously, you can't win them all, right?
To be fair, he didn't have his gloves.
To be fair,
we'll give him the pass for that one.
To be fair.
All right, that is 3 stars of the week segment talk. Transitioning, I mean, I hate to give these guys credit, but did y'all see these Detroit Red Wings Centennial jerseys that just dropped
they're
today?
beautiful.
Oh my
They're
goodness!
awesome, yeah.
You gotta give them kudos there. Wow, Patrick Kane playing in the Detroit Red Wings Centennial season. Utter woke nonsense.
Utter woke nonsense. You could say the same thing about DeBrincat, but I mean, to a lesser extent. But yeah, I don't like Patrick Kane in those jerseys. I like the jerseys that like Patrick Kane. I just don't like when they mix.
yeah.
He looks good
just
though.
rubs you the
Must
wrong
be
way.
said.
Yeah.
You guys see this photo? Look at that aura. Oh, he looks good in that.
Yeah, he
Damn.
looks. Yeah,
The winged wheel.
I hate to admit it.
Yeah, you gotta give him kudos. You
Yeah.
gotta give him kudos.
Yeah, shout out whoever came up with these jersey designs and brought it to this final form. I mean, those are perfect.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I like the Hawks Centennial jerseys, but they're basically just the usual jerseys, but with a different colored outline. Like, they're not really that different. They do have the Centennial patch and some details with the Stanley Cups on the neck. So the details are nice, but the actual jersey is basically just, a slightly changed version of the original. I appreciate the Wings for actually, it's a different looking jersey. So
I have a little bit of a hot take on this
What's up?
that I wanted to discuss with you guys. I don't think this is the best jersey that the Red Wings have put out in recent years.
What's your favorite?
My favorite is the 2009 Winter Classic ones.
Those are pretty nice.
Yeah, those
the
are
Hawks
nice.
ones, those that
The
year.
Wrigley
were
jerseys.
Yeah, the Wrigley jerseys were cool.
Unreal.
I also
Yeah.
thought the other Winter Classic jerseys when they played at the Big House against the Leafs, I thought those were
Those were really nice.
Those were also
Clean.
very nice. But
Yeah.
I think
Simple.
those. I would go 2009 Winter Classic, the Centennials, and then the 2014 Winter Classic.
I like the ones they wore last year in the Stadium Series game against the Blue Jackets. Maybe not the jerseys, but the helmets, like the Michigan helmets.
The
those
Michigan
are really
helmets were
cool.
very cool. I will say that.
Those
yeah.
are really cool. I wish they just wear those for the games. Too.
Yeah.
That'd be sick. No, those look really nice. Not the only jersey that dropped today. How about the Washington Capitals? These ones might be even nicer. They released some new alternates here and nasty. They brought back the Screaming Eagle. The Screaming Eagle is back.
Those look nice, dude.
I know they've been asking for it for a while over there in Washington land, and they finally answered the bell. Wovey's going to look sick in these in his last season. They're wearing them quite a bit, too. I'm actually checking the schedule here. They're wearing them at least 10 times, it looks like, if I do the math quickly. So those are nice-looking jerseys there.
I will say, though, I think they look better in the all black instead of the red.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, just me personally, just with the Screaming Eagle 20 years ago, I think that looked a lot cleaner than the red. But still, they're bringing back the Screamed Eagle, and I really like that as an alternate logo.
Yeah, I think they probably just wanted to change it up, right? Not do the same thing, which is fair. Like the Hawks, I remember I was initially upset that they wore the red last year at the Winter Classic, but they've worn black in the Winter Classic before. So for the Caps, it makes sense to change up the colors and have a different looking jersey. But I'm sure the fans would have complained if they just kept brought back the same one as those black ones.
The Hawks have worn black countless times at the stadiums and the Winter Classic.
We're still waiting on them to bring back the black jerseys.
I think the worst one was just that completely black jersey, normal Hawks logo, but it was like shiny.
Oh, the chrome one for the stadium series?
Right. Was that 2014? It was 2014.
2014 against Pittsburgh, yeah.
I like those. I like those.
I was like the biggest critic of those.
I like the spectacle because it was snowing outside, and I thought that made them look a lot cooler, but I think just the jersey itself, it was very plain.
Like wearing that to a game, I could never buy that jersey.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really hope they bring back the like 2000s, 1990s black jersey soon.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know there's been rumors of it. I don't know if they're confirmed or not, but
nothing's really confirmed. Like they've said they've been quoted saying they're going to bring back the black jerseys, but we don't have a timeline. And they didn't. They claimed they didn't want to bring it back this year because they were already have the centennial jerseys. So they didn't want to have New Jersey overload, which fine, I guess. So
but just imagine it. They just come out kind of like Notre Dame. I think it was in the 1980s. They came out one night, just not announcing it, but they came out in green jerseys. Throughout the warm up, they had their navy jerseys, but then they came out in a green jersey. I think if the Hawks do that with the black jerseys, I think that'd be so cool.
That would be nice.
Just
hopefully
out of nowhere.
And maybe 26, 27. That would be nice to see those brought back. I know the fans have been clamoring for it for a while. Those are really nice jerseys in the 2000s, early 2010s. Yeah, really nice jerseys. All right, I think we should do some more Prospect Showcase roundup. I'm not sure how much non-Blackhawks hockey y'all watch in the Prospect Showcase games this weekend, but
very little.
There were some pretty notable moments. I hate to give these guys credit, but I have to give them credit. I can't just ignore it. Demidov had a really impressive game in Montreal. Yeah. I saw a clip where he did the old Datsuk move behind the net, where he passed the puck to himself behind the net and kind of faked out the defender. You could tell he was kind of in a league of his own out there. And then they showed Lane Hudson's reaction in the press box, and he was just like, "Whoa." I think he knows his secondary assist total is going to go through the roof this year, working with him in the power play. So I'm sure he's loving that, but definitely has more to work with there now. So the atmosphere there, even for a Prospect Showcase game, it is Montreal, so I guess it shouldn't be a surprise. But that place was packed for a Prospects game. Yeah. It felt like it had regular season atmosphere. So really impressive over there, and they actually play those games in the arena too. Like most of the teams just play in the practice rinks. Like the Tom Curver Showcase was just being played in the Wild practice rink. A lot of these tournaments just take place in the practice rinks. So that's cool. I think they're one of the few teams that do it in the main rink. So that's pretty cool. I have to give this guy credit too, unfortunately.
I was just going to
Michael Mesa, Sharks 4-point game, and he had a goal and 3 assists in his unofficial Sharks debut, and looked pretty solid out there. So I got to give him credit. I don't think either of them were as impressive as Oliver Moore this weekend. Clearly,
no, absolutely not.
I'm just playing. But
another thing I want to bring up, I had said it, I believe, on Wednesday's show. Did you see the amount of breakaways Nick Lourdes had over those 2 games?
Yeah, it would have been nice if we could have finished one. But
it would have been nice, sure. But I have to say, I told you so, right?
Yeah, no, you called the fact that he got a lot of breakaways. Yeah.
Thank you.
I will say, I didn't realize how quick he was. Like, I knew he had a great shot. I did not realize how fast he is.
Very good speed. I just thought that 3-on-3 overtime was a good representation of what the Kyle Davidson method of player development is. Speed, speed, speed.
Yeah, and just not to segue here, but just to expand on Lourdes a little bit. Like, I was impressed with his game, like his all-around game too. Like, I thought he showed up in the defensive zone bigger than I thought too. Got involved in the play. Like, I don't really understand what all these prospect people are talking about. I think that's clearly an NHL player right there. And again, I know it's just prospect games; you can only take away so much. But I watched that kid play, and no, I think he's going to be a Blackhawk at some point this year. But
100%.
But back to NHL Hour here. Also, one more note from the prospect games. Did you guys see the clip of that Kings goalie putting the puck in his own net against the Ducks?
It was the Ducks goalie. goalie.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah,
It was a
I
Ducks goalie,
thought
sorry.
that was pretty funny. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty amusing. I'm not really sure how that happens, but you know, maybe better to happen in a prospect game than reality. But probably, you know, his chances of making the team probably a lot lower now. But that was a pretty funny moment. But he owned up to it, so credit to him there.
Press
Yeah.
F for respect. All right.
Yeah, it happens. It's a funny moment. I'm sure he got a lot of jokes about it in the room afterwards. Yeah, that was pretty amusing. Yeah, and then training camp starting for most teams this week. I know Blackhawks start Thursday, and I'm plenty starting this week. So I have plenty of storylines to get into there. Is the preseason starts next week, I believe. The Hawks' first game is the 23rd.
Finally, games.
Yeah, I think we'll have some even like earlier than that. So good to see just this past week. You know, it's just a prospects tournament. It's just good to see hockey back, right? It's a sign that the season, you know, last season's over and that the actual season is here. And we're all really excited for that.
Very, very excited
Absolutely.
for it. Yeah.
Got some news today. We had a little trade over the weekend. Another goalie move. We've gotten some lately. Ivan Femitov to Columbus from Philly for a 6th-round pick. So the Phillies, or not the Phillies, the Flyers.
We were just talking about the Flyers and all their goalies last week.
And we were
weren't
talking about Columbus,
we were.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
right.
So
that's correct. Yep.
You know, it's exactly what both teams needed, I feel.
They needed a third goalie.
Flyers. Another goalie.
Yeah, exactly what they needed, right?
The Flyers did. I think the Flyers was a smart move because they had an abundance of goaltenders.
In excess, clearly.
Whereas with the Blue Jackets, you got Elvis Merzlikins, you got Jack Greaves, so now they have a third option there in Fedotov. So he had a rough year last year, but young goalie, you know, he's definitely got some potential. A lot of those, you know, the Russian goaltenders do. The last time the Blue Jackets acquired a Russian goaltender from the Flyers,
That's right.
I think that worked out pretty well for them. Sergei Bobrovsky.
Worked out for the Panthers pretty well.
That too, yeah. Bobrovsky is the goaltender I'm referencing. So not saying Fedotov is going to be the next Sergei Bobrovsky, but I think he's getting opportunities though. I mean, Lincoln's, I know he's had, you know, a rough past couple of years, so I think the pressure's on there. Greaves was good for him last year, but that was, you know, limited start. So I think he's going to get an opportunity there for sure. So and then for the Flyers, I think it made sense. They have an abundance of netminders there, so the draft pick isn't really a concern. I think for the Jackets, just loading up in net. So yeah, no, good move for them. We'll see how that pans out. Yeah, should be. The goaltending, I think, is the question mark with that team in terms of getting to the playoffs. They were really close last year. I like the good, you know, young group they have there. Good offense up front. The D's gotten a lot better. The goaltending is a question mark. I'm not really sure if this answers it. You know, we shall see. Similar to the Buffalo situation, which the reason that the Sabres got Georgiev, we didn't really have the answer for why they did it, but I was listening to 32 Thoughts today, and the reason they did is because they're not really sure about the status of Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. He might be out to start the year, so for them, it's just you know, making sure you have enough options back there. And so
that's right.
That was the rationale from Buffalo for that move, which was a little bit of a curious one. I was like, well, now Georgiev, is that really going to solve your goaltending problems?
You'd rather be over-prepared than under-prepared going into a season.
You want to have options, right? You want to have options. So I think both of these cases are just, you know, depth moves, especially with goaltenders today.
Yes.
You see a lot of injuries in net today. I'd say a lot more now. So you always want to have multiple options back there in net. You know,
I would agree.
In case something goes wrong, it's something you know, you want to take a look at for sure and have taken care of. I think we got to talk more about this man. We talked a lot about him last week, but we did get some updates today on 32 Thoughts. Kirill Kaprizov. We got to delve more into Kirill Kaprizov.
$100 million dollar bill Kirill.
Absolutely, about what's going on there. Yeah, I think Friedman talked about in 32 Thoughts. He stated there's not a magic number that Kaprizov will see it instantly signed currently. So it's more of a Minnesota situation to deal with there. But no, a lot of interesting debate today on the 32 Thoughts show about what's going on there. And Minnesota's got to get it done. But for the Kaprizov camp, it might just be, from everything I'm hearing, that he might just not want to extend in Minnesota. It might not really number what number they give him. If they pay up to above $16 million, I'm not really sure it's the amount that's the issue there. But if he's not going to take the $60 million deal, it seems like there's something more going on there. He might just want out and want to change his senior. That's just me speculating out.
I don't know. I can see that point of view. I mean, you don't really see a future with Minnesota. Might as well. I know there was a couple of teams mentioned that Elliot Friedman was talking about. The Floridas, the Tampas, the New Yorks of the world.
I was hoping to bring up Chicago.
Yeah, I was also hoping he'd bring up Chicago.
I was like waiting for it. Where is it?
But I mean, as Friedman said, he's looking for potentially just a team with a lot of money, and who has a lot of cap coming up in the next couple of years. The Chicago Blackhawks.
They do, and he said, there could be a bigger fish out there, a team willing to pay as much as 19, 20 million. I'm not sure if the Hawks are one of those teams, but they did speculate about that. There just might be a bigger offer out there, and that's kind of why this waiting game is taking place. I think another reason why they sort of alluded to is the whole McDavid situation, the fact that contract hasn't been signed yet, and they're still waiting on him to extend. It looks like he's going to go into the season without an extension, so they might be one to sort of wait and kind of let that contract be, what determines the next what his contract's going to look like, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah, that'll kind of provide the ceiling there. So both sides just seem to be kind of in a waiting game, seeing who takes the bait first. And
it's the old Western standoff. Who's going to shoot first?
Yeah, which like McDavid, Kaprizov's great. McDavid should make more money, but I just think with the Oilers' situation in terms of cap compared to Minnesota's, like, and honestly, wouldn't shock me if Kaprizov's, if they were able to get an extension done, it wouldn't shock me if Kaprizov's was larger, just because I feel like they have more to go around there.
Yeah.
So,
Where
McDavid, I think he'd probably be willing to take, couple million less than he probably could be making, just to help his team compete, and leave that space available. But I know I think they're a big reason too. He's getting pressure from his agents and then probably the NHLPA as well. It's like, dude, like your contract is going to sort of determine what happens here in terms of future player contracts. So there's a lot of incentive from that standpoint for him to get as much money as he can. Not just for himself, but for the future landscape of NHL contracts across the league.
Yeah, and that's another kind of thing you mentioned, the money. He could make more than McDavid. That's kind of one of the things they said on 32 Thoughts today about, he might not be an $18 million player for the Florida Panthers if they wanted to sign him, but to the Wild, they would be willing, to keep him around, and they have more to go around, and he's the guy they need in the end. Like, if they want to be a competitive team and keep on this track, they can't lose him.
Yeah.
They can't lose him and expect to...
No, if they lose Kaprizov, they're cooked.
Yeah,
like the Wild, like they have to get
you
this
can't
done.
just right the ship. In terms of keeping the same plan, you kind of have to start from scratch.
Yeah, so I guess that's what kind of makes me think where it's Minnesota. It's like, why are we stressing over 16, 17, 18? Like, that is your franchise player. Like, you give him what he wants. So that's why it makes me think like there might be more to it than that.
Does he want to be here? I don't know.
That's the question, right? So, we'll see if they can get that situation dealt with. But I know the Kaprizov camp is unhappy of this elite. It does create sort of a tough situation going to the season there, where it's like, the players, that's going to be that's going to be in the room. Whether they bring it up or not. His teammates are going to know he rejected the $60 million deal. Like, what's that say about where this team is at right now? So that's sort of something you have to black out and just sort of focus on the season ahead. But that can create problems when those type of contract situations aren't dealt with. Before the season started, it can those off ice distractions can present themselves.
Yeah, I know they were talking about it on 32 Thoughts how Caprizov was in a captain's skate, and when they got off the ice, it was announced and leaked to the media that he had rejected the contract. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall during that.
Awkward.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, just to see the reaction from guys who are in that leadership team and guys who have been around this team for a while. So I just think it's a super interesting dynamic that needs to have even more media discussion on it. Honestly, like, this is one of the biggest stories in hockey, if not the biggest story in hockey right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's unprecedented. I mean, not really. I mean, I guess, but yeah, I mean, this could be the makings of another situation from last year. Where last year was always Mitch Marner, and now this year it's going to be Kirill Kaprizov, right? It looks like the longer this goes without the situation being dealt with, we could see a similar situation play out over there. And with all respect to Mitch Marner, I think Kirill Kaprizov, I mean, I think he's a top 5 player in the game currently. And I think last year, if he didn't go out of an injury, you could argue he would have been in line for the Hart. So big. And that's another thing I'm curious to see too, is how he performs this year. Like, does this affect his on-ice play? I know it sounds like a silly question to ask, but some players doesn't really, they're able to black it out, but other players, that does, those types of talks do kind of, affect them a little bit. So, definitely a pressure season ahead for him in the Wild, and even for him, there's a lot of incentive to, play the best you can in terms of, future suitors there and what that contract's going to look like. So, no, definitely fascinated to see how that situation plays out as the season develops. A little clarification here, kind of what I alluded to from Marco D'Amico. With McDavid due for what many expect to be a record-breaking extension at Edmonton, Kaprizov's camp is in no rush to commit until they see where the new bar is set. So it kind of feels like they're waiting on Davo, but I don't know. I mean, everything I've heard from that camp, it seems like they're in no rush either. So it feels like neither side is really in a rush. They're kind of just both focused on the season ahead, and it seems like there's a good chance both go into the season without a contract done. So, a lot of pressure, I'd say, both sides, especially Edmonton, to win this year for sure because of that.
Yeah, I think if you don't see a contract by, the time that training camp starts Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday, and then if you don't see it by the time the regular season starts, then you start to set in, that panic
You
state.
start to worry.
Yeah.
The panic button may not be hit yet, but they're definitely reaching over it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
there. It's in
they're
view.
hovering over it. Yeah, I would agree.
For sure. Friedman didn't bring up the Blackhawks, but you know what did bring up the Blackhawks? Michael Russo covers the Wild regarding Kaprizov interest. He had this quote over the weekend. Rangers. I know the Hurricanes are going to be a team that's very interested. The Blackhawks are. There we go. Blackhawks name drop right there. The usual suspects, LA. I think he'd love Tampa. Those are the 5 teams that he mentioned is, probably highest in Kirill Kaprizov interest. Good to see the Hawks in there,
Yeah,
a little name
absolutely.
drop. Again, just to hear it, means something. It could feed into our delusions, right? Yeah.
Why not get the delusions out of the way now before the regular season starts?
Absolutely. So
I'm done with Bears delusion. I'll just hop full on Kirill Kaprizov to the Hawks.
Yeah,
delusion
why not?
All
There you
year.
go.
it would just solve all of our problems. Absolutely.
Our sweet boy.
Absolutely. Another player I think worth talking about more. This is another guy I think we'll be talking about plenty of this year is Quinn Hughes.
Oh, yeah.
The whole Vancouver situation there. We got a quote from Elliot Friedman on Quinn Hughes. This is an enormous season in Vancouver, and I think that Quinn, a lot of what he's going to do is going to be determined by how this year goes. There's been a lot of, we've talked about a little bit on the show, there's been a lot of, talk around potential jersey, reunion with his brothers, Jack and Luke, that could be on the table. But yeah, for Vancouver, I think, obviously, they need to have a better year. I think that was a team like the Rangers who had a ton of drama last year, in terms of players in the team. The old JT Miller, Elias Pettersson situation. Now that's dealt with, and Demko, hopefully he'll be back and fully healthy. There's really no excuses this year in Vancouver. Definitely going over some changes in the offseason, bringing on guys like Evander Kane. So they're hopeful for a bounce back season. I'm a little hesitant. I'm just not really quite sure. Pacific Division though is pretty open, so the opportunity is there. It's hard to imagine him having as bad of a year as last year, but I don't know, man. Quinn Hughes definitely carried that team last year, and he's going to need a little more help this year, I think, if they're going to want to get back in the playoffs. Kudos to them for getting Besser extended, but I just don't know if I see him getting back to the playoffs. But we shall
Besser,
see.
Demko, Garland, they brought back a lot of the usual suspects last year. So I think it's interesting that they only brought in Evander Kane, and from previous times it seems like Evander Kane isn't the best for the locker room. So I just don't know what they're going to do there in Vancouver. Obviously, they got rid of Tocchet this year too, so it's a brand new coaching staff as well. I think there's a lot more question marks than answers in Vancouver, and I think that you start to worry about that a little bit.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
That they had a locker room issues last year, and they bring in Evander Kane.
Yeah. What are they thinking about that?
That's the solution.
Yeah, no,
Yes,
that'll
Evander Kane is the solution.
that'll help you guys out. Absolutely, that is amusing. What do you guys think of Vancouver? You think they?
You could finish anywhere from 5th in your division to 2nd or 3rd. I don't know. We don't know what we'll see. It's all about everyone who got re-signed, continuing to improve and become a team and not be just the Quinn Hughes show.
Yeah, last year it was the Quinn Hughes show.
And Pettersson, they're looking for a lot out of him.
Need a better year out
I've
of
heard
him.
a lot
Absolutely.
about he's put on weight this year. He's ready to be like a bigger body and really grow into his skill that he has, obviously, and be that superstar next to Quinn for this team. And if that can happen and he can kind of evolve his game and step up, I can see a really good year for Vancouver.
Yeah.
If it kind of doesn't all click and it's still the Quinn Hughes show and the guys aren't contributing that they paid all this money to and they need, then it'll be sniffing at a wild card spot if you're looking at it, if you're even close at the end of the year. But
And I think another thing on the Elias Pettersson front is, they got rid of JT Miller at last year's trade deadline. We knew there's a big saga going on between the two of those players. And I think, now that Elias Pettersson is on his own, maybe he can actually refocus back to hockey, which I think is a big thing for him.
Yeah, this is a guy who had 100 points, just a couple of seasons ago in 22-23, and
Won the Calder.
Just below 90 points, 23-24. Like last year, you look at his totals, it's an anomaly, right?
Yeah.
So there's more going on than just on-ice stuff. So now that all the distractions have removed themselves and there's really no excuses here, you have to think he gets back to at least being, maybe a 80-ish point player.
Yeah, point per
That'd be
game
nice
player.
to-
I think that's
Point per game.
Yeah, I think that'd be huge for this Vancouver team.
I think, well, it's necessary. They need it. Like, if Vancouver's going to get back in playoffs, they need Pettersson to be at least a point per game.
Yeah,
honestly.
they probably need Besser to put up 30 as well this year.
They need 30, 40 goals from him and Hughes to stay in the Norris conversation as a top 3 defender with Makar and Morensky.
And Demko to stay healthy.
Yeah.
That's a must.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
If he doesn't play, 60 plus games for you, 50 plus games, if he's missing, 10 or 20 games, you're not going to have a great year.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't believe in their goaltending situation past Demko. And if he goes,
you're not a big Kevin Lankinen guy.
Kevin
Like
Lankinen
the
and
tank.
Archer
shout out
Sheloff.
Blackhawks legend Lankinen, but I'm just not a huge believer in him being able to, carry the load for that team if something does happen to Demko.
And I just think it's super interesting too. They tied up so much money into Sheloffs and into Lankinen too, and they just extended Demko to I believe 8.5 for the next 3 years as well.
Shout out Boston College also.
Yeah, shout out to the Eagles, sure.
Yeah.
And I just think it's super interesting how they have so much money tied into the goaltenders. You would think that maybe one of them has to go, right?
Yeah, that's a question mark, right? I think Lankinen's been solid there, so I think the Demko Link tandem I think works there when healthy. So I'm not leaving the third one on the outside looking in there, but no, I think Demko when healthy is a top goaltender in this game.
Yes.
I think he's a top 10 goaltender in this game. I'll say
I'd say borderline top 5.
borderline top 5 goalie in this game when fully healthy, and which it's crazy too. He's probably the 3rd or 4th best U.S. goaltender. I mean, you got Hellebuck, you got Andre, you got Swayman, then probably Demko's number 4. You could argue with him and Swayman, who's number 3, but I'd say Andre and Hellebuck's your clear 1-2 there. So, and he might not even be invited to the Olympics just because of how strong the U.S. goaltending is. So, but yeah, they're going to need him to be fully healthy and at his best. That's an absolute necessity if they're going to get back to the playoffs. Which honestly, I think it kind of feels like it's a must for him. If Vancouver's not in the playoffs this year, Quinn Hughes, I think very good chance he's out the door. So very good chance. So we shall see. And I think I'll be pulling for that. I think I'd be karma from those Vancouver fans who keep saying that Bedard's going to go there next year. I think it'd be absolute karma.
I didn't know if you were going to go
Quinn Hughes.
if you were going to go with that or just karma for 15 years ago during those playoff series. But I think that's over and done with, right?
Nah, I still do. My
little bit of
childhood
resentment,
me
yeah.
never forgets.
Always holding the grudge. I
Those
like
Hawks
it.
Canucks
I like it.
rivalries were cinema back in the day.
they were.
They really were. Those playoff series. Everybody talks about the Wings and the Blues, but the Canucks, I'd say for a period, they were the Hawks' biggest rival for a few years.
Yeah, for those 3 years right there. Yeah.
2009 to 2011.
Was not a fan of Burrows at all.
No,
Burrows
no.
or the Sedin sisters, Kevin BX. I mean,
The Sedin
Roberto Luongo.
sisters.
Yeah, all those guys.
I just remember the Chicago Tribune headline the next day when we beat them. I forgot what game it was, but the headline was a Luong night.
That might not have been my favorite one. I think my favorite Chicago Tribune headline was when they had Chris Pronger in a 2-2 after the 2010 series. The Cup Final Series, they were calling him Chrissy Pronger, so I thought that was pretty funny.
He and Burrish had some beef that year.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Bufflin too. Yeah, I mean,
was
all those
amusing.
guys were getting after it. I loved it. That's what we need back in this city. We need some intensive hockey. We can't be hovering around draft lottery in November. Like we got to be thinking upwards and onwards.
I miss the days stressing over playoff hockey and not a draft lottery combination.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Staying up till 2 a.m. watching a 3 overtime game or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Those were the days. Gotta do some more Pittsburgh Penguins talk. I mean, we talked about this team a lot last week with Fleury and Crosby and Malkin, but there's another name we haven't really touched on that much, and that's Erik Karlsson.
Yeah.
We got this report from Josh Yohe. Erik Karlsson has just not worked in Pittsburgh. I know there are teams that are still interested in him. He's definitely a guy I've seen in trade talks. I've seen the Red Wings mention as a team that could be interested in him. But yeah, that's a guy you look at, but not just him, Brian Russ, Ricardo Burkau as well. It feels like pretty much anybody who's, above the age of 25 is on the table there, as that's a team that's definitely going to be in the conversation this year for Gavin McKenna, as our guest Jay alluded to this year. So if they can find a way to keep making the team worse, I'm sure they'll find a way to do it if it offers on the table. But Karlsson, he's definitely past his prime. I mean, he could still put up 40, 50 points in the blue line. His defensive game at this stage is what it is. I'd say it's past its best days, but he's still a guy who could play top 4 minutes for a contending team, and he could work the power play. I think if you're a team that's in a playoff spot, if you're looking at your second power play unit, whatnot, I think Karlsson is a guy you should take a look at. I think it makes sense. Just curious to see what other teams besides the Wings could be taking a look at him, but it definitely sounds like that's a guy who could be on the move in Pittsburgh land this year, amongst others. A lot of guys on the table there.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see a number of contenders making a push to see what Pittsburgh needs in return to get him. Obviously the age is the one thing. If you're a team that's planning a big playoff run, you kind of wonder, can he be that guy that we hope he can be? I mean, he can't move as well. He's not exactly the player defensively that he was.
Yeah.
But you still want to make sure that he can survive the brunt of a playoff run. If you acquire him.
I mean, he's won a Norris in the last 5 years with San Jose. I mean, he put up 100-point season in San Jose.
San Jose. Pittsburgh has not been the same.
Pittsburgh, it hasn't been the same, but you hope that he, goes back to that form, at minimum. So, I mean, hopefully, putting him onto a contender that needs a right-handed defenseman right now, I think that'd be very, very interesting to see.
And he's making $11.5 million for the next 2
My
years.
goodness gracious. Yeah, 35 years old. That's an interesting thing. Like, how would he be in a close playoff game at this stage? I will say Four Nations performance wasn't the best in 2025, but some of the problems could be Pittsburgh related too. I mean, I think that team's making pretty much anybody look worse besides Sidney Crosby at the moment. So perhaps a change of scenery would do him wonders, and he could sort of find that form that he had in San Jose. I don't think he's going to get back to 20. That season still amazes me. He had 25 goals, 76 assists that year in 22-23. That's when they were competing with us in the Bedard tank, which they lost. And they took that personally the last 2 years, finishing last place. But no, Karlsson could still bring it. I mean, I'm definitely curious to see what happens with him this season for sure. Charlie, I believe it's time for Weber's Wagers. I believe.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
Rough weekend with the Bears.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Actually, rough weekend in college and NFL football. So Indiana State at Indiana Hoosiers. That game was a 72-0 blowout, unfortunately.
Is that right?
That pick didn't go our way at all. So hopefully we'll be back to our winning ways this week with the bets.
Best of
as
luck
always, before we make our bets and talk about them, we have to put out a brief disclosure about gambling. The light show on me. I like it, Nat. Thank you. All right. The following content may discuss topics related to gambling. Gambling can be addictive and is not suitable for all individuals. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, help is available by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. Please be 21 or older, and you please gamble responsibly and be aware of the risk when you do.
Oof.
There we
Well
go.
said.
But
As
more
always.
difficult getting through that one.
We lost him at the end there, but we
It's all
recovered.
good. You got
As
through
always.
it.
So back to football for tonight. Chargers are against the Raiders, Los Angeles versus Vegas, and we're taking the Chargers on the money line tonight.
Chargers over the
Chargers
Raiders.
over the Raiders. So Justin Herbert versus Geno Smith. I just think they have way better quarterback play. The lines are better. The defense of the Chargers look great against the Chiefs. So just take the
Shout out
Chargers
Khalil
here.
Mack.
Shout out Khalil Mack, Bears legend.
Bears legend.
Bears legend Khalil Mack.
I missed that 2018 team.
Yeah.
doesn't?
Yeah.
That
Who doesn't?
defense. If only we had a kicker that year.
Oh, yeah. That's, not say his name.
I'm
Don't
not
say
gonna
his
say the
name. Don't
words
say his
either.
name.
Can we go to the next one before I start tearing up about the 2018 team?
Of course. We'll move past that. So the next pick for tonight is just the Cubs to keep rolling and win another game. Cubs money line tonight against Pittsburgh.
Ooh.
Okay.
Got some
All
home
right.
cooking here.
And
Yeah.
I
I see the
believe
vision.
we have a good pitching matchup. Tyone versus Ashcraft. Yep.
Tyone revenge
Ashcraft
game?
is kind of still a young starter. Tyone's been established, and he used to pitch for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a tongue twister. Yeah.
Returning to PNC Park tonight, I think he gets the job done for the Cubs.
There we go.
I hope he doesn't. Well, I guess for your wager, I hope he does.
Hey,
Yeah.
I hope the
Yeah.
Sox win tonight. So
Wow.
Be the better
I
man.
will
I
be
want
there.
it.
just give us the same for the Cubs.
All
Go
right.
Chicago, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
Okay.
I would say people, Chicago sports fans, this quick segue, who cheer for both the Sox and Cubs. Utter woke nonsense. Pick a team. You're either a Sox fan or a Cubs fan. You can't be both.
That is something for a 5-year-old to do, not for a 50-year-old to do.
Thank you. I'm glad we can at least agree on that. Thank you very much. Appreciate
I'm
that.
with you. I'm with you.
All right. Is that all we got?
Yeah, just 2 today.
Okay, very
right.
nice.
All right.
I wish for better luck there than Friday, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Can't count on the Bears for anything.
No, you can't. They will find a way to ruin it. There's one more NHL topic we really should get into here, and that is the Washington Capitals situation and what is going on over there. Did you guys see this? Washington Capitals assistant coach Mitch Love is currently under investigation by the National Hockey League right now. The details we are waiting on in terms of what the investigation is, what it's for. That's all a question mark right now. We don't know the answer, but what is going on over there? Did you guys see this?
I saw a little bit of it. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into detail about speculation on what's going on there, but I know that Mitch Love was in the running for the Boston head coach job and the Pittsburgh head coach job as well. So it's I think I would have liked him on the Hawks. I think he's got a pretty good coaching style, but I mean if he's got this off ice issue, then you might want to stay away from him.
There you go.
Well, everything happens for a reason, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get more information on that as it comes out. Again, I agree. No, not worth speculating in terms of what it is until we have the details. But I do find it interesting that the Capitals released their jerseys today, right as that dropped. Don't look at that. Look at these jerseys. Don't look at the coach under investigation. Look at these really nice jerseys.
Very convenient timing.
Which I was joking about that last week with Fleury in Pittsburgh. Wow, all these Crosby dramas going on with the contracts and stuff, where he could be in the future. Oh, here's Fleury. He's going to be playing in a preseason game. Maybe that's just me. You do know, PR does matter for these teams. So
yeah.
I mean, they may have been planning to drop him today anyway, but they're like, we'll push it a day ahead. All right. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for today's episode of CHR. One last thing, actually, for tomorrow. I think if you all head over to Union Station, you might run into the CHR folk tomorrow.
Potentially.
The Blackhawks are doing a season ticket / centennial event tomorrow. I know some of the players are going to be there. I believe the morning commute time, 7:30, 8:30, around there. And I believe we're going to try to hit that up. So if you want to meet the Blackhawks players, or actually I think if you want to meet the CHR guests, right?
Yeah.
Clearly that would be the priority there.
Absolutely.
We will be there, and be sure to say hi if you do. And we'd love to talk. We'd love to discuss Blackhawks hockey and
we're
CHR
fluent in
talk.
Japanese.
Absolutely,
Yes.
we'd love to. So definitely hit us up there for sure if you're free at that time. We will be there. We will be there.
We will be there.
Absolutely. All right, we will be back Wednesday. And we'll have plenty to say, regarding training camp starting on Thursday for the Blackhawks, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, good Monday show. Thanks again to Jay Zawaski, by the way, for joining us. Excellent guest. Really enjoyed the discussion with him. Be sure to support his work at CHGO if you aren't already. Just a really excellent guy and really knows his Blackhawks hockey. So, really appreciate him for joining. And just a friendly reminder, like this video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help us get to 1,000. Really appreciate that. Hype us up. If you're listening on Apple and Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, 5-star rating and review. We really appreciate that. CHR merch drop. Yeah, be sure to pick up your CHR merch at the Alithio website. Link is in the bio.
Nothing
we really appreciate
beats
that.
a CHR merch drop.
Absolutely. You know it.
Yeah, nothing.
All right. Thank you all for joining us today. We will see you Wednesday. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.